Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live GSL Season 1 Code S
the core. War is won if you want it more. Do you want it more? Well, if it's live or die, I'll live forever. I'll take the world tonight. It's now or never. Not afraid to fight. Ooh, this is my time to rise. Rise. Go easy. I'll live forever. It's now or never. And when it's live or die, I'll live forever. Hey, yeah. I'll live forever. When it's live or die, I'll live forever. I have to be so strong. Been walking for so long. I have to be so strong, so strong. I'll live forever. It's now or never. And when it's live or die, I'll live forever. Hey, yeah. I'll live forever. When it's live or die, I'll live forever. I'll live forever.
Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live. 2022 GSL Season 1 Code S.
Hey everybody, welcome to day 3 of GSL. We're going into Group C here in the round of 20. How you doing, Artosis?
Hey, sis, I'm doing quite well. Hey, how about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I think today's group is going to be an interesting one. I think Rogue a clear favorite to get out of this quickly. And then
Really? I think he's a little bit of an underdog going up against Nightmare.
Yeah, that would make the day very cool if actually Nightmare beat Rogue.
Yeah,
Or
but
made
let's
it
not
close.
even talk about that. I'm like, yeah, it would also be cool if the sun exploded and engulfed the Earth right now. That would be really neat as well.
Look, that would also not be cool, but yeah, what are you saying?
More likely to happen.
Yeah, probably more likely to happen. Look, I think Rogue gets out of this group. Very likely Zoun, maybe. ByuN it's possible.
Mhm.
Nightmare, that would be very exciting.
Yeah, if Nightmare wins any maps tonight, I'm pretty happy for him. I just don't think he's anywhere near the level of his 3 opponents.
He's one of these players in the GSL that is, I think, a very important player to have because he represents the new generation of players who might be able to rise up in the ranks, the players that are not regulars that we have here in season after season after season at GSL. So, if I'm him, I'm going to look at this and say, okay, how can I best perform? How can I take this experience in the studio and really capture, gain those RPG experience points? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
kind of
totally.
level up from this, and who knows, maybe he plays well and does something incredible.
Love to see it. Here's our results so far, guys. We do have 2 Zergs and 2 Terrans so far getting through. Today we do have 2 Protoss playing, but again, Nightmare we can't see with too much of a chance, so kind of hoping here that Zoun can have a good day, but of course if he does, that means that either ByuN or Rogue is going to have a bad day.
Yes, that would be.
It's not a zero-sum game here, Tasteless.
It's like a.
Oh wait, no, it is a zero-sum game.
the whole way that these brackets operated is the most zero-sum game there could be. But who knows? Maybe in the future we'll just give trophies to all the players, Artosis. What do you think about that?
That's the world I want to live
That's the world where the pro gamers grow up okay.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, good to be back here with GSL Code S. This is going to be a quite possibly very one-sided one. I mean, Rogue is one of the GOATs, man, one of the most dominant players of all time. Making cat ears with the results here in the last GSLs on our graph.
Yeah, you're right. That is cat ears. And of course, this guy is one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT, in StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
Of course, had a pretty good Katowice there. Nice little round of 4 finish. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think he's probably the favorite for this season. I mean, he's generally the favorite for everything, right?
And here we've got Young Nightmare. And you can see his graph. Not a lot of activity on there.
No, not too much. It's been a while.
I find that funny that we still at least showed the graph.
Yeah.
Instead of just having a statement like no activity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, he's here. He's gotten this far. I think when you're a player like Nightmare, and look, this guy is actually very good. It's just unfortunate he's paired against Rogue to start things off, right? It's I think hard to kind of capture the potential of this player when you go against somebody who, it doesn't matter who goes against Rogue. Rogue is likely to win. But this is an important moment here for Nightmare, as it is for any pro gamer, when you're going up against seasoned veterans in their own, I guess you could say, home turf. I mean, how many GSLs has Rogue won, right? And along with everything else that he's won. So it's going to be a real testing ground as we start this best of 3. Nightmare versus Rogue. Game 1 on Glittering Ashes starts now.
GSL Season 1. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Rogue. Team MB, Nightmare.
Do we actually know the age of Nightmare? Look on my phone.
Do not know. Probably one of the younger players, though. You know, a little reminder for people, Nightmare was the first player to professionally use DT Blink after it came into the game. He went for Charge plus DT Blink.
I feel like that's his claim to fame.
Yeah, it is. That's basically it. Yeah, he's quite liked Heroes of the Storm. Played a lot of that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Never really know what type of shape he's in, because we don't see him in tournaments all that much. You can see he has played against Rogue online a little bit, but he's never played any of these guys offline, so just throwing that out there. I'm interested to see what he'll bring today. I think he is a relatively creative player, so we could see something interesting.
This is born, it says February 23rd. That doesn't help me.
Oh, it was his birthday recently.
Yeah. So I guess we won't know his age.
Well, he's at least like 6 months old or so. No,
Yeah.
he's at least a month old.
Yeah.
But no, we saw him a few years ago, so he's at least like 4 years old.
It's not very helpful, Wikipedia. All right. But anyways, he's definitely one of the younger players here. And, you know, we've got a couple other guys like this that are newer, that are, you know, about a generation below some of the players that we're used to seeing. And look, I mean, when we started StarCraft 2, we had players like Nesty, who were, you know, I think basically 30 when they were having their success. And we have players like DRG, who right now is older than ST was. So, I mean, you know, the age of pro gamers is rising. That's true, actually, in every game. That, you know, players are proving that they can still be competitively viable as years pass. I think despite, weirdly enough, a lot of stigma, especially in Korea, which I don't know where this really came from, but people kind of thought like, oh, there's no way you can be professional in any game. This is like the big talk like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That if you're like past 22, it's going to be impossible. And now it's like...
For a long time, that stayed to be the truth, but honestly, I think you're right. It's just not something that people need to think about all that much. I wonder, are players getting older in other leagues as well, like League of Legends, for instance? Are they getting older, or is it still the young kids coming up? Because
they're definitely still younger than StarCraft in general, but I mean, there's some of them are aging. Well, they're all aging. What I was saying, some of the other ones are staying.
Yeah.
In that league, I think there are some parameters that make it a little bit more complicated. Like if you're on a team game and you're sponsored, then you probably need to be in a team house practicing with that team.
Yeah.
And so there's some things that are either, you know, more or less appealing about that, right?
Yeah, of course.
I think, you know, you get older, at some point in time, you don't want to live with, especially a bunch of people.
Well, yeah, I
That's
think
kind
it's
of a normal thing.
Not just that either, but I think, you know, StarCraft, we're seeing older and older and older players for sure.
Yeah.
I think if the Kespa teams were still here, it wouldn't be the case, because they would just cycle in the newer players consistently.
They'd probably have a more rigid structure.
Yeah, and so it would be much harder. Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, and I hope that it continues, that old people stay good. I'll let you know, Tasteless.
Or get good, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's, I think as years pass, I think Street Fighter's probably the big example of this, where, like, they really have players that are just getting older and older, and it doesn't seem like young people have some kind of unique edge on that. And I think StarCraft's probably the other one, StarCraft 2 and 1, for that matter.
Well, here we have a little bit of a depth pressure. Unfortunately for Nightmare, an Overlord flew in and saw that he was having a Dark Shrine, so we have Spores coming up and the layer started. So it doesn't seem very likely that much damage will be dealt here.
Yeah, a lot of this is hinged on, oh, that's funny, yeah, the Roach Warren's going to be sticking out there. Again, Roach Warren, very easy to remake, and in fact, I almost wonder if it was better to keep the DTs alive.
Okay.
Well, definitely better to keep the Warp Prism and DTs alive, but this is already, we're at the point of a catastrophic start here.
Yeah.
We're at the point of, you know, it's I don't want to say it's hard to mess up early game, because it's not, anybody can do it, but there's not that many ways you can mess up an early game that badly, but that's one of them. You lose the DTs, don't do damage, lose the Warp Prism, and right now probably have a pretty vulnerable third base.
Yeah, that's about the worst thing that could ever really occur. Wow. I mean, I would have put you know, money on Rogue before the match, and then if he had gotten the DTs away, if he had killed the Roach Warren in 2 cleans and gotten away, I would have still put money on Rogue. And now that he basically only killed a Roach Warren and lost all that, it's just, I can't imagine any Protoss being able to kill Rogue from here. But let's see, he's well, I mean, he's going Blink, and he's making some Archons, making more gates, and there is a Spire on the way. So there's always the possibility that, you know, maybe Rogue goes into Mutas or something like that. It looks like he wants to.
I think he will.
And, you know, things can get messy if you get a couple good Archon hits, something like that.
It's hard to imagine Rogue letting that happen, though, but
yeah.
I see what you're saying. By the way, you know, rough game here for Nightmare in general for the kind of player he is. I mean, he's very green compared to these other pros, especially Rogue, who's, like, literally the veteran of veterans. It's so, you know, let's see how he can handle the rest of not just the series, but these games today. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't too bad for harassment. Takes a little bit of hull damage there on the Prism, unfortunately. See if he can do a bit more. Some Stalkers coming out now. Rogue just kind of chasing everything back with these cleans. Rogue just coming up as well. Nice transfusion there.
Unfortunately, nothing here to defend, so the battery's going to go down. The probes will most likely go down. And now we need to see, is Nightmare going to have enough to bust into this 5th base in the center right? I think the answer is likely no, because those Lings, it wasn't that many that were going back there to counterattack. So I think that we shouldn't be in this game for much longer, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, he would have to really win this battle right here, and with 18 roaches being made, it doesn't seem too likely.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where it's almost mathematically impossible for any Protoss to recover, especially against the likes of Rogue. And to be frank, from Nightmare here, a very clunky game. Very rough around the edges, a little bit sloppy in execution. I think the idea, not a terrible one to try to go for the surprise DT. But this is kind of one of those, like, I hope he's not ready strategies, which is sometimes a great way to play. I mean, I guess if you can pull it off, then you get a good win. But I feel like the problem when facing off against Rogue is Rogue doesn't seem to have a lot of these kind of soft, squishy areas in his play.
Yeah.
That's why he wins everything. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of Roach Ravager coming up right now. Rogue up about 70 supply here. Okay, an offensive blink into that. I mean, he already knew he was dead anyways.
Yeah. That was like you blinked through the katana and cut yourself in half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
that is what that's like.
Leatherface is coming after you with a chainsaw, and instead of blinking away, you blink through the chainsaw. You blink on top of it, it just gets split immediately. That's what that is.
Oh my gosh.
You're a wizard, Rogue.
Well, it was such a rough start for Nightmare. I don't mind the idea that he opened up with, but Rogue scouting it, and that's the thing. Rogue is going to make sure he's scouting whatever Nightmare is up to here.
You can get the wiggles, man. You can get the shakes when you really start to play and the pressure's on. I even had a little bit of that when we went to the pre-pandemic ACS qualifiers. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
We're playing in accounts, and the adrenaline's going, but of course, you kind of get the voices in your head a little bit when you're playing. You got to shake that off and go forward.
So
for Rogue, this is no different than him eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
In
fact, maybe less stressful than that.
Him boarding a bus. And this is just a normal day in the life of Rogue, but for Nightmare, I mean, the pressure is on. This is kind of the pinnacle of all his training here.
Yeah.
All right, guys, game 2. Good luck, Nightmare. Rogue has a 1-0 lead.
2022 GSL Season 1. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Rogue. Team MB, Nightmare.
It is funny, man. People are at different spots in their life at different times, even when they're in the same place, doing the same thing, right? Like we were talking about earlier, like for Rogue, this really is just eating a sandwich.
Getting on a bus.
This is putting his shoes on. It's like, I do this all the time.
He knows how to tie his shoes.
Yeah, he doesn't go, it's time to put my shoes on. Oh! And he just, wraps the laces around his neck. He doesn't get crazy. Whereas for Nightmare, he's like, okay, I'm here. I'm in the studio. I watch GSL. I dream of being the champion. I've made my mark before. People kind of know about me if they're, pretty hardcore into StarCraft 2. But now, now that was pretty sick.
That was
Double
good.
block on the pool. But yeah, I mean, it's something you got to keep in mind is like when you see these guys, or this guy, I should say, kind of mess his strategy up that badly. It's always interesting to see how they're going to play from here on out, Why are you laughing at me?
Watch you put this thought together. If I was watching you stream right now, I'd be typing Peepo notes, okay?
Thank you, Artosis. You're so mean to me, Artosis. It's just supposed to be my turn to try to say the thing, and I do my best. I open up different doors in my brain and kind of see what's in there. And sometimes I've got 2 doors open at once, and I'm trying to take 2 things out at once.
Yeah. Well, that's why
they both turn out to be dumb, and I'm trying to put them back in there, but not let people know what's going on. And
do you think Nightmare is actually going to be able to win any games tonight?
I mean, after the first game, I think that no is a very safe bet, right?
Yeah, it seems like the nerves are there for him. You know, I made fun of you for saying that, but it does seem that way because you're not supposed to lose 3 DTs and a Prism trying to get a Roach Warren.
Yeah, it's fine to like see the Roach Warren and hit it, but then when you see the Spore coming, you go, okay.
Yeah.
Not fast enough.
It's not like you don't know the math there. Like anyone that plays enough StarCraft to be in GSL, like you can glance at a screen and you know exactly how much damage will go everywhere before everything dies. Like you don't have to be GSL level to know that. You know, and anyone that plays a decent amount can look at it and see that. So it's like clear that his decision-making faculties are not working perfectly here, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's like, especially in StarCraft 2, things happen so quickly, and you kind of get in this moment, and even if you've rehearsed it so many times at home, when you start to see that maybe I'm actually going to kill this building for free against Rogue, you know, your judgment kind of falls off, and you're not kind of automating your play. So much of like being a good player in Micro is sort of the self-automation of doing that, and kind of you don't have to put much thought into it. You know those habits, you know how to do it, and it seems like it kind of fell off there, where what should have been the normal movement of units and the juggling of the DTs just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And instead he like committed onto it almost like it was a Hail Mary.
It was going to win the game.
And it's the Roach Warren, which is like actually not a big deal at all. Like you can remake that super fast. It's not worth the shuttle or the Warp Prism, excuse me, and the DTs.
Yeah, you're not going to win because you got the Roach Warren.
He doesn't go, no, it just only makes Zerglings and lose. So, yeah, I mean, this game, it's going to be an adept play. And I really do have a lot of compassion here for Nightmare. I mean, this is an extremely tough opponent to go against. You got to do whatever you think you can do to win. So what we want to watch for now is the execution going to be there? This is where I get to kind of pretend it's like I'm judging ice skating or diving, you know? I'm like, how is the form?
Yeah. Well, he has glaives, so, you know, obviously you can't finish that. Plenty of Lings to deny this, but you don't have to shade in. Okay, an Immortal is on the way. Is this going to just turn into a 2-base all-in? He's got the 4 gas, so...
I mean,
no, 3 gas, 3 gas.
I think it could be a 2-base all-in.
Yeah, I don't think it's even a bad choice,
I think
honestly.
before this game even started, you could say this could be a 2-base all-in, you know? But again, that's kind of predictable here for Rogue. I feel like with Rogue, you just want to be vigilant for any kind of suspicious stuff.
Yeah, these Lings getting a little bit of scouting done at least.
3rd Nexus, 3 gates.
Yeah, I think the Nexus is a fake, though.
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
I want to say he's going to 7 gates with these 3. It's like one of those placeholder Nexuses, you know? You, like, make it, and then your opponent's like, oh, maybe he's making probes. Oh, he's not.
And then he goes, is this your card? And you go, oh my god, magic is real. All right, nice drop here. This is what we want to see. So the layers started.
Yeah, and a Roach on the way. Second Immortal's going to be popping out here. I haven't seen it. Does he have any sentries right now? I don't think so. I feel like that's something you'd want to pop out already. He's got like 500 gas, but he hasn't made a sentry. And there's something to be said for brute force, but like, sentries are really good. Like if you're attacking like Guardian Shield Tasteless, you may have heard about it. 2 armor to everything against range.
Bubble gaming.
Bubble gaming.
All right, he's going to come up now. He's got the 2 Immortals.
Oh, the Lings get around the Immortals immediately.
Yeah, and actually shuts down the warp in, which is just going to make this army not bulky enough. He'll have to warp in further back. But, you know, once you get one big warp in to cancel, you've sort of lost the rhythm of the warp in waves, which is really what's so important when you're going to do these pressure builds. Because if you get that reset, it's like, okay, well, you can do it again.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, now we know exactly what's going on, too.
That
it's going to be harder and harder to make anything work. Backing up now. Blink is on the way, and he is adding probes in. So, you know, the game isn't like over or anything. He is trying to do a bit of a transition here. And into Blink Stalkers, I mean that's obviously the best choice that you have at this point. Clearing some of this creep. And I think being on the fringes like this is basically the only thing that you can do right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe up to, well, I mean, it could be Colossus, could be Disruptor. I think Disruptor would be much better here.
I think Disruptor's probably the way to go. I think you're going to get more damage out more quickly than you try to increment Colossi out here. But yeah, I mean, right now, it's 3 base to 3 base. We're going to see a 4th, I'm sure, very soon here from the Zerg. Seems like the 4th is certainly overdue. But now we've got a Baneling's Nest coming down here. Does he just want to try to kind of do a counterattack here?
Oh, the Baneling Nest...
maybe
well,
not with the Evo coming.
A lot of times when you see Baneling Nest, that's actually a good counter against Blink Stalkers. Like, you think that they're good against it, but actually when you have a big economy and everything, Banelings are going to do a good job. They're all very clumped up.
Right.
And especially if there's Colossi in there, you see that as a counter a lot. But yeah, it is going to be Disruptor.
28 Lings coming. And, you know, there's probably a lot of these are going to be Banes coming up here. No 4th base yet, which I got to say, you know, I'm a little bit surprised about. The game goes on. You can't match a Protoss on the same bases for that long unless you're going to try to take a fight.
It is kind of interesting, isn't it? Like the way that Rogue is playing it. It seems like he is very slow on this base, but he has made a hell of a large army. But honestly, I mean, if Nightmare micros well, it's doable with the army he has for sure, right? Like you have a couple disruptors out here. You have some force fields, Guardian Shield. Glaives is already done. He's got Blink.
He's getting more Lings, Hardy.
Well, with those Banelings being added, you're going to have to really nail your force fields, which is very hard to do on creep. So you see that Rogue's still pushing that creep out. 4th Nexus coming up for Nightmare. He's putting out a nice game, isn't he?
He's
nothing's gone super well for him, but he's still playing nicely.
Economically, it's been tit for tat, man.
Yeah.
He's keeping even, which, you know, in theory, is going to be bad for the Zerg if the game continues to pan out at this pace on both sides. I mean, in pretty much any game, the Zerg is supposed to be about a base ahead, about a base or 2 ahead, depending on, you know, how the early game went.
Yeah, Rogue is definitely looking for a good engagement because his army does not scale, and as long as Nightmare doesn't commit on creep, he's gaining a bit of an advantage right now. But look at how many Lings and Banes are still being made.
I feel like this is not how Rogue normally plays. Is he doing this because he's against Nightmare?
I think he's just being really careful, and he keeps thinking that Nightmare is going to attack. And again, if Nightmare had attacked on creep by now, I think he would have died. But he's not. So now Rogue is throwing down the infestation pit, so he is going to go up a little bit in the tech tree. But really, like, Nightmare, like, being patient about it and pulling back, I think is throwing Rogue a little bit for a loop.
Well, I think, honestly, Nightmare had a lot of patience. Hold on a second. Baneling's going to come in now. And
that's a lot of Banelings.
Yeah, that's a pretty devastating amount, but if these Banes can't get that many more probes...
Ooh, that's a good warp.
This is actually like a pretty big loss of Banes, all things considered.
Yeah.
10 probes is a lot, but, you know, Banelings, they need to get value when they detonate, and if they don't, like most of them didn't back there, that's actually kind of bad for Rogue.
You know, if Nightmare, because I see him making a Temple Archives, if he makes like 5 Archons and goes, he might kill Rogue.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Like, that's what he really needs in this army right now. That's what's missing is Archons. Archons will help to suck up the Banelings, which is, like, that's the dangerous thing here for him. Now, he does lose this Nexus. A little bit painful.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I think if he had a little bit more stability back in his position at home, that would have just been defended. Seems like his whole control group maybe kind of 1-8 back towards his main and left that open. And little victories like that can pan out into a big win here for Rogue as the game goes on, because now when you look at the minimap, it does look like a normal expansion distribution in a ZVP, with Rogue having that 5 and now Nightmare actually retaking the 4. So
yeah, let's see how he can engage here. Okay,
Nice.
some force fields, those are good force fields.
Those are great. But he didn't lock anything in with him. So he kind of like
Mm-hmm.
sandbagged the attack. But now they're gone, and I don't know how much more energy is here.
He's going up to 6 Archons right now. Okay, this is where you start to really eat the Banelings if your army's
Well, this seems like a
positioned
bad angle to
correctly.
hit in here for Rogue. Whoa, a lot of those
Wow.
Banes get through. But
Yeah.
there's so much back here for the Protoss. The Immortals are still in a great spot, and that seems like a pretty egregious overextension here from Rogue.
Yeah, he definitely damaged a lot. He did a lot there, and there are more units on the way, but this is a better army right now for Nightmare, no question. You know, Rogue had some good moves, but yeah, I think he feels a little bit pressured to make this army do something for him, and it's hard to do off creep.
Well, there may be an opening now. I mean, Nightmare, I think if he can get this next attack to execute very well, he's going to be in good shape. The Banes are going to come, kind of a weird blink. They sort of blinked into the Banes. And if we don't have enough of these core units here, like the Stalkers and the Zealots, the Archons and the Immortals can't be utilized anywhere near as much.
Yeah, like, we need to see the Archons just tank a little bit more for Banelings. Okay, a nice blink to the north there, dodging some of the Biles. But it seems like Rogue is going to pop all of the Archons.
Yeah.
Is his production going to be enough to actually just clear this out, or are the Zealots going to end up
if it's going to be one, it's going to be with Stalker Zealot. The problem is I think, I mean, there's 26 things, there's 4 roaches being made. Rogue is microing very well. But I think barely Rogue's going to hang on here. You know, without Archons here, the Lings.
Yeah, he doesn't have any of the long-term units, so if you just hit, like, enough to wipe this one time, you basically got the game as Rogue,
So he's got 2 Archons making.
Okay, that's really good. But these Zealots, can they even turn around and run?
Well, that's
I think
the problem.
they get picked off if they turn around.
Okay, actually, he might still have this. Now, no base has been killed. I want to point out the hatchery north of the War Prism is actually still there. See, it's still mining.
It might
So,
be,
like, this can be one of those moments where it looks like Protoss might take the fight, and then they sort of get their army reduced, and when the dust clears, that everything Zerg had is basically still there. It's all still kept intact. And you need to do, you know, heavy infrastructural damage. Now, that's a huge counterattack there with those Lings and those probes.
He does clean it up reasonably well, but any units that aren't made up here help Rogue right now. The Banelings get some hits there on the Zealots. The Archon's going to pull back for now. He definitely needs to kill that hatchery to the north, like you mentioned.
Yeah, he's
Very
kind of
important.
like, he's basically just trying to kill the army over and over and over, and like, this is a production point over here. That hatchery's so low, does he just go for it? Oh man, that's
seems
gonna
like
be
he just
haunting.
can't. He'll just lose everything.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he can safely commit.
He's killed 31 drones, though.
Yeah, it's actually 35 drones to 63 probes, so that's a pretty impressive difference.
Yeah.
So even though the hatcheries weren't killed, the worker count has plummeted.
And look at what he's making right now. Archon Disruptor. That's like the most efficient army that you could possibly make against what he's fighting against. He has his 4th base back up and mining. And we don't see Rogue making any drones. So even though he has like a bunch of bases in quotation marks, he's really not mining like it. He does not even have 2 base saturation right now.
Seems like Rogue is almost looking for a fight to try to keep Nightmare back here. I feel like we're slowly watching Rogue win this unless he can just take it. Like, I think long-term, Rogue is not going to be in good shape. He's trying to, like, take some micro fight up here.
Yeah.
And
He's trying to really get value right now while the Protoss army is small.
Yeah.
Because Nightmare just needs a couple rounds and he'll be able to attack move through this. But if he can reduce the army, pick it off a little bit, get some good biles, that's where Rogue maybe can still win this game. I gotta say, it's like impressive stuff here from Nightmare this game, win or lose.
Yeah, no, Nightmare is, he's actually putting up the fight of his life here. I have some question marks surrounding the opening here from Rogue for sure, where I'm like, what is he, you know, just 3 bases and Lings forever?
No. A lot of these Archons are really low. I wish he had like an overcharge right now just to top off shields.
Yeah, he's keeping those ones in the back, though. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Those shields take damage so fast.
Yeah, he's losing quite a few now. Rogue getting a lot of extra value here.
Dude,
and
he's dodging like
amazingly.
crazy.
It's
This
amazing.
is Matrix dodging right here.
It really is.
Okay, it's only 2 Archons left here.
Pull that Archon back. Yes. Okay, that's a good overcharge.
So I think at this point in time, it almost seems like it's kind of an all-in. He's basically like hard-locked his economy, and he's just going to try to outmaneuver the disruptors. But seems like with those 2 disruptor shots, Nightmare's going to win this game.
Yeah, he really is. So we go from just kind of a huge blunder and a terrible first game and questioning whether or not Nightmare is going to be able to do anything today to really beating Rogue pretty straight up there. Like, he put on the pressure, and Rogue made an army to kill an attack. And he just kept making the army to kill the attack. And if Nightmare had committed on creep, Rogue wins that game. But Nightmare expanded. Like, he wasn't in a great spot when he took his 3rd Nexus or his 4th Nexus, but like, the way that Rogue was playing that, Nightmare basically countered it perfectly. That was really well done.
Yeah, I think when Nightmare identified that there was no good target to hit, it's like, where are those hatcheries that are making with creep coming towards them? You know, with drones. No, there's nothing. So he goes, all right, I'm going to wait. And then when the 4th base is very late taken, Nightmare just does the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that kind of, I'm impressed. I want to see if he can maybe make some upsets here tonight. That would be amazing.
All right, guys, game 3 on Hardwire. Rogue versus Nightmare. Let's do this.
2022 GSL Season 1. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Rogue. Team MB, Nightmare.
Now, it has crossed my mind that possibly the Zerg Illuminati had a meeting on Discord the other day and said, Rogue, you've won a lot of money, you've won a lot of tournaments. It's time to take one for the team. Okay, we need Protosses in the next round of GSL so that we can keep the balance as it is.
They had that meeting in the woods where they're all wearing bird masks and capes. Yeah. They're like, how do we just keep winning tournaments for a few more years? They said, while drinking children's blood from goblets.
Yeah.
And then one of the Zergs looked at the other. I mean, they don't know who it is because they all have bird masks on, right? But he said, why don't we just
they all
drop
have
a game to Nightmare?
They don't know who each other are, but, like, we know their accents very well. I'm like, okay, well, that's a Finnish accent right there.
That's definitely Korean.
That's quite Italian right there, that accent.
Yeah, man. Zerg Illuminati. Like, have you ever noticed that the pyramid on the dollar bill looks like a hatchery?
That's funny because it would look like a Nexus.
No, exactly.
That is especially funny.
So, I mean, look, Nightmare did it. He's got to do it one more time, man. And then he's won the best of 3. The thing is, though, I feel like Rogue basically set up to, like, just stop down on a timing attack, and it looked like he was going to do a timing attack.
Yes.
It really looked like it. But, you know, at the same time, Rogue basically, like, hard countered that. He's like, no, we're just going to make an army.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep getting a bigger and bigger army. And I think Nightmare did have the right idea. He pulled it back and said, all right, well, I can't attack then. Let's make more probes.
Yeah.
Let's expand again.
It was great decision making.
Let's keep upgrading.
Yeah.
Let's do all the stuff that we need to do to tick all the boxes for a macro game. And, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're both making units like that, the Protoss army is going to scale better towards max, right? Like, you actually do need to get that other tech as Zerg. And yeah, Rogue was very late on that, so very well done. Like, that is the type of play that I really appreciate seeing, where you're kind of taking this situation that is not great for you and making the hard choice. Because, you know, if you're sitting there with, like, some damage to depths that didn't do much, and, like, you're finishing up Blink and your forges are late and stuff, and you have, like, 2 Immortals that didn't do anything, you don't feel like, well, what I need to do is go 4 base and max out like this.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't seem like it's the thing to do, but it really, really is.
And I'll tell you what, man. I think that Nightmare has shown that even after a very catastrophic game 1, he's recovered, he's back, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, he can, and he just beat Rogue, so.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of players there would have attacked earlier and just died and be like, ah!
Well, it's hard to pull out of an all-in. It's hard to pull out of a timing. You know, where you're like, all right, what, you know. And so to do that, and to just stay safe, and to not really overextend at all.
Yeah.
And even when he did that attack, he killed off enough drones. And I actually kind of, I get what happened with Rogue. He didn't make any more workers. He said 35 is going to be the number.
Yeah.
That's it. We're going to just try to, you know, micro dance with Ravagers and all in. I don't want to try to stretch this game out. Let's try to, you know, grind this game to a halt one way or another.
I don't think it was necessarily a bad call.
No, I don't think so.
He was semi-close to breaking him. You know, didn't quite do it, but yeah, not a bad idea. Look at this, another DT Shrine. So maybe that same type of play here.
Only not losing the Warp Prism in the DTs.
Hopefully not. Yeah, and maybe he won't get a scout up on the Dark Shrine this time.
Yeah, a lot of that strategy is hinged on them not being completely prepared for it. All right, nice value there. Stalker stays alive. He chases out the rest of those other units.
A lot of Lings being made right now. Few Ravagers out there, probably to try to flank the Prism a little bit as that comes in. Dude, there's real potential with this, actually. I like this. And I could see Nightmare winning here.
Yeah, he's going to have these Adepts come around. Now, we got to watch that third base, man, because, you know, if this third base gets taken down, then it's
yeah, it's definitely going
tough.
down.
3 bases is a lot more than 2.
There's just Zerglings being made right now. Wait, he canceled the Dark Shrine?
I don't see it.
He did. That's why I was like kind of very excited about this. There's like no layer or anything. Okay, well he's just gonna get broken. He doesn't have a Dark Shrine to warp into easily.
Dude, he's just gonna die.
That's funny because the Dark Shrine, like in a situation like this, you warp in 2 DTs and kill everything. You know?
Yeah. Well, what happened?
I don't know.
I guess our observer might have missed it.
Yeah.
Because I'm as confused as you are, man.
Yeah, I don't know what that was because I don't think an Overseer, an Overlord went in to see it.
Or if it did, we didn't catch it on screen.
But he didn't. He didn't send one in. Like I kept glancing down looking for that. So
yeah.
I'm really confused. I think it must have been a misclick. I'm not sure what else it could have been.
I have no idea. It's weird.
Huh. That's too bad. That was a very anticlimactic game, and I think that Nightmare actually chose the right thing to do there, and then somehow things went wrong.
Well, Nightmare's a bit beat up about it, but I'll tell you what, man. That victory against Rogue, little feather in his cap.
Yeah.
I mean,
good.
He's got the hard part of the group out of the way. I don't think Rogue's going to be going to the losers match later on today. So
yeah, probably not.
Guys, we're going to have a break. Coming up next, TVP, ByuN versus Zoun. Stick around. We'll be right back.
for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 날을 만든다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
아침은 라떼, 헐리 점심은 라떼, 헐리 저녁엔 라떼, 헐리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 헐리
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
라떼 헐리. I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I've been coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 날을 만든다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
아침은 라떼, 헐리 점심은 라떼, 헐리 저녁엔 라떼, 헐리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 헐리
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
라떼 헐리.
Today's matchup. Rogue, Nightmare, ByuN, Zoun. Most competitive 1 versus 1 game. Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live 2022 GSL Season 1 Code S.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Protoss versus Terran. Maybe the whole night, man. ByuN versus Zoun. This is going to be a fun one. I think Zoun, maybe this is like what do you think? Maybe 70-30? I think Zoun's favorite here. I think he's looking very good.
I wouldn't say 70-30, but yeah, I think it's Zoun favored. Yeah, I think he's actually. I would place Zoun right this second as the third best Protoss in Korea.
Yeah,
I would
for
go,
sure.
I would go
think that's
trap
completely
CEST
fair.
Zoun right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's really good. And the thing is, I think Hero and Classic are gonna get their names back in the mix at the top. In fact, maybe even this season, Hero will do it.
Sure.
I've heard that he's getting in real good shape again. But yeah, I think Zoun's quite strong. I do think he's a little bit favored here against ByuN. ByuN hasn't been as good, I think, the last couple seasons. He had like some brilliance last year early on where I was like, ooh, ByuN could win a championship, but I don't feel that right now.
Yeah, ByuN has been. It's weird. Like, this is a world champion, right? And
Yeah.
like, it's. Don't get me wrong, guys. But sometimes it's hard to remember that when you see how ByuN plays in the last couple years. To remember that at one point in time he was literally on top of the world and unstoppable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think today it's going to be like. Gotta get the Gosu thermometer out, you know?
Yeah.
Put it under ByuN's tongue and see what the temperature is here. We gotta do a little Gosu check up here,
Yeah.
you know. And I think if ByuN's playing well, it's gonna be a great match. But Zoun has been very much in good form the last couple of days. Guys, Curious Minds is where it starts out. Let's go to game 1.
2022 GSL Season 1.
Ooh. Proxy racks incoming.
Oh. Artosis becomes a mean girl when people make barracks on the map. Oh!
Is that what mean girls do? Oh, it's just one of these hidden racks that you can float into your main pretty quick.
Makarax lives on. Still good to this day. But what's happening here?
Ooh. I wonder. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe just scouting for a proxy, possibly?
Could be. It's funny because on so many StarCraft 2 maps, there are basically so many places you can put a building to hide. I don't know. This is something I've been thinking about. Ideas like this only occur to me when we're casting 2 leagues at the same time, like with ASL and GSL, where like we're basically, you know, every few days oscillating between StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1. But do you think that StarCraft 2 maps should have less buildable terrain so that proxies can be
Well, that is
found?
an interesting question,
Because
isn't it?
now that I'm thinking about it, and like many of the maps, like we'll take a StarCraft 1 map like Eclipse, a lot of that you cannot build almost anywhere on. There's a couple set spots, but it's much more limited, right? If you think of all the spots on the map that look like it could be built on until you actually play on it, where it does seem like a lot of these StarCraft 2 maps are just so rife with buildable terrain that it is hard to check for a proxy. I mean, how many games have we casted where somebody checks literally almost like 60% of the scoutable parts of the map and can't find the proxy, right?
Yeah, that
Because you
definitely
kind of hide
happens.
in plain sight.
That does happen. Honestly, I think it's not something that should occur. Because when I think about proxies, they don't seem overpowered.
That's true. They're not as busted as they are in Brood War, it seems.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that, of course, you start with more workers here, and it's always 2-player maps. So you get enough intel quickly enough that you can kind of react to anything. Whereas in StarCraft 1, you literally sometimes can send out one of your first 4 workers and have something like in the most absurd location, you know? Yeah, so I think it's fine. It's a reasonable question though about that, because it is like basically everything's buildable in StarCraft 2. Yeah.
What's so funny?
Well, I'm thinking of how unbuildable terrain would work. Like, maybe that is something that could be a very interesting thing, to have some unbuildable terrain. For instance, you could have something the width of how far creep tumors can jump in the middle, right? So you can't get creep in certain areas, something like that, right? Like,
that had
like
not
you can't
occurred to
take,
me.
like if you're, let's say you're bottom right here, and you have that width, some like towards the top right, like you couldn't expand to the top right base or something with creep. You know what I mean?
So you're telling me it would make the game super fair and awesome, is what you're trying to do.
That's what I would try to do, yeah. That's it right there.
Limit the Zerg's creep, Artosis.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Sign you up.
All
Okay,
right.
it's a little Whittle Mine drop coming out here. 3 mines ready. I like how we're watching a TVP right now that we haven't talked about yet, but we're talking about nerfing Zerg.
That's true.
It's just the state of StarCraft. We can't help ourselves.
Okay, so when would
We pander to the lowest common denominator, guys. Sorry.
Looks like he's going to get the kill on that probe. No way that medevac can get in there.
Yeah, I love this, by the way, because the Reaper came over and killed off the probe, and now he's got the mine, right? Like, look, that's great. What a good kill. I really like that move from ByuN.
Yeah, cool little
It slows the
tactics here
Nexus
from ByuN.
down and everything. It's
Great.
very nice.
Okay, not sure about that shift click. That is picked off. Blink is about to finish here.
And a Raven coming up. And that Adept will get picked off, trying to get out of there.
So we've had a lot of games where ByuN has 2-based, tried to put pressure on. And this could be another one, for sure here. We don't have any CC started just yet. But it's not out of the question that he could get one in a little bit here.
Yeah, the third Nexus is about halfway done. I'm thinking this is probably Colossus tech, but I know Zoun does like his disruptors.
He does more than the other Protosses, it seems.
Yeah, he's a pretty big fan, but it feels like a Colossus game so far. You can always go disruptor afterwards. Yeah, there it is, Colossus coming out. And I mean, ByuN, you know, this is nothing too out of the ordinary. I like the Raven ad here. And I mean, if you get a Raven this early and they go Colossus and you do your dedicated push, sometimes you can knock them out with a disable or 2. But Stim is pretty far away. So I don't know if he actually has any sort of timing to do an attack like that.
Oh!
All right, gets them both out. Probe sacrificed immediately.
Yeah, he's going to try to pull these back over here, see if he can get a better target. And he does. Gets 2.
Yeah, not bad. Plus more lost mining time. A few tanks and marines come out with the Raven there for a moment. Second Colossus is on the way.
Terran is still amassing on just the 2 bases. Stim was delayed to get all of their upgrades out a little bit earlier.
Oh, he's definitely going for an attack. Look at this. 4th siege tank.
Yeah.
Marauder heavy. Like, I mean, that's pretty ByuN anyways, but
That was also very ByuN to pick up the 1 Marine with
Yeah.
the medevac. Micro that perfectly.
It's his superpower, man.
I'm ByuN!
Okay, well, let's see what he can do with this push. It is a little bit scary. I think you should actually be bringing your Colossi out right now. He doesn't have Thermal Lance quite yet, but I think right now you warp in a couple sentries, you walk out with your Colossi, you have to slow this down before it gets there. Like, if ByuN gets on top of you with this push, with the disables, that's how... Oh, is he really going to go for a drop here?
No, that doesn't seem
No,
right.
that
Even
doesn't
with
seem
what he
right.
picked up, that seems...
Oh, wow, he
really?
is!
With 2 tanks?
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know about this, man.
No, I don't like this.
This almost just seems like kind of a weird, just random thing to do. Even this pick up and put down.
Yeah. Okay, here comes the main army going towards the 3rd base. Okay, let's see if he can get anything done. He doesn't have medevacs here, and it seems like the charge lot's just going to kind of clean it up. Okay, I mean, the Marauders are getting some damage, but there's an overcharge.
Yeah, I think that was about the worst attack ByuN could have ever done.
I didn't like the pickup. Like, the
No,
army he made was actually reasonably well situated to fight against a Colossus opener.
What is the function of having 2 tanks, 2 medevac drop in the main? Let's just take a moment to think about that. You built up 4 tanks in this game, right?
The tanks don't do much.
That's going to, well, if it is going to do anything, Artosis, it's going to give you a foothold to shell a place that you can actually reinforce.
Yeah.
I understand drops, but we don't normally ever see drops with 2 tanks in them because it's just you don't have enough.
It's a waste of room.
2
it's
medevacs.
not the right DPS. It's not. It's just. It
No, yeah,
doesn't.
exactly.
It does,
Exactly.
So siege tanks are bad in that situation.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, we don't normally have this many siege tanks made. I'm not going to condemn the tank buildup, but I got to point out that doesn't make any sense to just kind of haphazardly drop. But it was also weird. He was like loading and unloading tanks, which is also weird.
Yeah, I think he thought that there was going to be more recall there or something, and like he was going to try to get out, and then he's like, oh no, this is not that much. Maybe I can fight. But yeah, not a great move from ByuN. Unfortunately, he's down in supply right now, and I mean, second Robo just finished up. Dark Shrine on the way. Disruptor's coming up. Zoun looking very good.
Yeah, well, I think it's a very straightforward game here from Zoun. In fact, we've almost not talked about him this whole time because he hasn't really missed any beats, you know?
Yeah, he's playing solid.
But yeah, just a weird move from ByuN. I mean, he's got a 3rd base, it's later, but I am really kind of confused by that attack from him. It just seems like, maybe he hoped that Zoun would be thrown off by that as well, but frankly he wasn't, and he usually isn't. And so now he could start to just warp in Zealots. What? Oh.
He's clean up on that
He was
person.
going to warp in Zealots until he couldn't. But Zoun just, you know, doing a good job so far. Doesn't mean that ByuN can't take this later on, but again, man, I can't get over that attack. It's crazy.
Yeah, and now looking at the army that Zoun has put together, he's got like 3 Colossus and 4 Disruptors. He's got Flank. He's got Charge. You know, he's got very good army supply right now.
Nice connections on those Marauders.
Does lose
Beautifully
1
done.
Disruptor. Almost lost a second there.
The push is going to continue on. If ByuN's going to make something happen, it's going to be now.
All right, hitting that 3rd base. Zoun going to start coming up.
Stalkers blink in. Colossi shots scraping away at the top of that Terran's army. Reinforcements get here as the Warpins come in as well. So Raven's still marooned over here on the side. Oh, okay, never mind.
Still some good dodging going down against those disruptors as well. Zoun, I think, needs at least another round here to really engage. He has more disruptors now. I don't know that I think you gotta like go in with charge lots and bring the disruptors way forward than launch. Because right now, like, you are buying some time with those shots, but you're never gonna connect. Not against ByuN. You gotta like go to a place where he has to fight. There you go.
So the Nexus has almost lost all shields, but that's about it, man. I mean, this position, it's a victory right now for Zoun. ByuN backs up and regroups, and this is oftentimes, especially with kind of tank, you know, having an army with a couple tanks here where you're sort of relying on that, that's when you can punish, is as they retreat. Oh! Could have been much worse, to be honest, for ByuN there. But yeah, when the tanks are running away, I mean, basically all the Protoss ground units are faster than the tank when it's trying to leave, so you can always catch up to it. You force a siege, and then you decide, okay, do I want to fight this or not?
Yeah. Some DTs were warped in and sent over towards the third base, I think. Or maybe that was towards Nat. Oh, God. ByuN not exactly on top of things there. He loses a huge amount of units trying to pick off the disruptor. You can, like, if you compare his play right now, the way he's engaging this army compared to what we saw from ByuN against CEST, night and day, really.
Truly. When Stargates come in here, DTs have just been slow dripped into the main. Anywhere where there might not be a scan, is ByuN may start to get worn down here. Both blink in there. And this is going to be annoying. And keep in mind that ByuN does have a fourth base, but that's probably going to be the target. When you see little attacks like this to draw forces away, you know a setup like the one we're about to see is inbound here. What is that, 2 tanks under the medevacs? Yeah.
Yeah, a couple tanks. He has some Vikings, obviously Ghosts in here as well. And, I mean, Zoun is, like, kind of positioned, but it looks like he will pull back. I actually don't hate the pullback. You know, he has base number 5 right now at the top. Get that situated, like, keep pressure on like this, sure. Like that group of Zealots being split off to elsewhere. Zoun making his way down towards ByuN's 4th.
And I gotta say, ByuN is, I mean, he's not ahead in this game, but he's not in terrible shape. The 4th base lives on. You could see ByuN continuing to kind of power up here. He's gonna get the Ghosts here. We've talked about this a lot, but it's always worth mentioning is that, you know, when you start to get the overlapping splash damage in a PvT, that's where the Terran can really struggle because of the way in StarCraft 2 things clump together. And just the low amount of HP that infantry have in this game, it's devastating. So we've already got Colossi and we've got the Disruptors. But now we're going to go into what looks like carrier tech.
Yeah, most likely.
Or Tempest maybe, but probably carrier tech.
Yeah, well, Protoss love carriers, but honestly I think Tempest is like undervalued probably in every matchup right now. But like for instance, if you look at that Zest first round game, I think if he goes Tempest there and just pokes over and over and over, he wins that game. But we'll see. You know, I mean, the carriers can do amazingly. Their DPS is so high. Now that is a lot of disruptors here, Tasteless. A lot of disruption balls coming out. Trying to get these pickoffs is ByuN. Not doing that fantastic. Oh, he's going Tempest, Tasteless. He's doing it.
Let's go, Art Bart.
That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
Tempest it is.
Tempests are actually like so undervalued, seriously.
Well, I think especially if you get to a position where you can just kind of be outside of the base.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we can actually just hit him from afar and we can kind of force Terran to react. I think he can actually attack into that base, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't think
you're right.
I don't think ByuN has anything left.
No, ByuN he's having a little bit of a hard time here. More destruction balls coming out. We'll get pushed back here.
Am I wrong? Can't Zoun just take that fight? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's better to pull back.
It's not a planetary there, man.
Yeah, he can come back later though. The thing is, as long as he's staying in ByuN's face this hard, I think that there's not much that ByuN can do here. And with these Tempests coming out, the beautiful thing about Tempests, right? Like, first off, against anti-air, their range is so magnificent that, like, it makes your opponent, like, engage into you. And the anti-building damage is so high once you get the upgrade. Like, again, if you're hitting anything, it makes them come into you. And Disruptors and Psystorm to a lesser degree are poor at attacking, but unbelievably strong against someone coming towards you. So,
right.
like, any sort of retreating defense, Disruptors are god tier at. Because you don't miss at that point.
You get that
they
true
run away
defender's
otherwise.
advantage, right?
Yeah.
We're advancing with them. It can be done, but it's very hard. Instantly spots those DTs. ByuN going to come in here and try to tear down this base, but we can already see that the army here for Zoun is just going to come in here and chase this away. Now, keep in mind, ByuN didn't retreat into the other base that's being made up here. At this point in time, Zoun is now taking both corners of the map. And in real time, though, we may end up seeing Zoun get stretched a little bit thin here. So what's going to happen now is Zoun is going to have just a massive counterattack, knowing that there's just less territory here for ByuN. And so if he can win a couple big fights here, he's going to maybe cut in half the economy of ByuN. Well, he can start to rebuild what he's losing on his side of the map. So if he gets this base down here, he basically gets the base south of that for free.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a good EMP right there, but looks like he will be able to eliminate all of that. DT's coming up for the flank as well.
Oh,
And let's see, I mean, this is ByuN's really his last chance to get anything done this game.
Good control here. Both Colossus escape.
ByuN coming back up. More Stalkers being rallied in with some Zealots, and GG's called.
ByuN taps out.
Yeah.
Interesting game. Zoun really just kind of steadily staying ahead. I think ByuN had some interesting moments, especially near the end of that, where he might have tried to take it. But I think Zoun, he kind of weighed his position very well and thought, okay, if you're hitting me with this much stuff, and I've held off this much so far, this is easy. I just counterattacked.
I think that ByuN, like that pickup he did with the 2 tanks and the other bio and 2 medevacs is like his only 2 medevacs. Plus he made a Raven, which is on those early pushes just good against Colossus openers. Because you can kind of, you know, disable is really good against Colossus openers because it takes out all of their splash basically. So I don't know what the thought process was there. It didn't play out well. It didn't look like it was going to play out well, and I think that that's where he kind of threw away his chances this game. And he didn't play terribly afterwards, but that was a blunder.
Hardwire for map 2. Zoun with a 1-0 lead versus ByuN. This best of 3 continues on.
GSL Season 1. Shopify Rebellion. ByuN. Alpha X. Zoun.
Is this a proxy from Zoun?
Is his name Zoun now?
Zoun. I meant Zoun,
What
but I
is
just
it?
heard I just heard Andy's voice sound, so I don't know. Let me just tell you, I'll never call him whatever you call him, okay?
Listen, all right, we already did this to Hydra, all right? We're going to do it here now. His name is Zoun.
Zoun. That's what his name spells.
What about Zoun?
All right, so it was just like a little bit of a sideways scout there, maybe looking for a proxy. Comes in, checks the gas and everything. Okay.
Yeah, now ByuN in that last game, I mean, we can talk about the late game for a while, and there were some interesting things, but I keep going back to that early attack.
Yeah.
If you're going to stay on 2 bases and try to do really impactful damage, that ripples through the entire rest of the game no matter how each player plays. You know, more normal play is for both players to try to get a third. I mean, Protoss can try to attack a Terran on 3 bases, but a lot of this seems to be Protoss, unless they're doing all-ins or being like crazy aggressive early on, it's basically just be passive.
Yeah.
And kind of almost try to behave in a Zerg-like way against the Terran. But yeah, that attack just looked really weird from ByuN. It's not surprising that he did that. A lot of his games he does early attacks, but it was one of those moments where it's like the drop didn't make sense, he didn't get a good position, and ByuN's always been an interesting player because he's made micro moves historically in StarCraft that like nobody else could do, and that's crazy. And I've always wondered with players who are like that good, is it because they're just very, very fast, and they're so fast they're just kind of putting stuff out there without really having it all mapped out because the other player can't really respond as quickly?
Yeah.
Or is it very well orchestrated? And I feel like that was not well orchestrated. It just seemed kind of like a weird, random drop.
Yeah. Sometimes if you're really good at certain things and you rely on them, it can actually make you learn the game somewhat incorrectly.
Okay.
Like, we saw that a lot with Marine King, I think, and a little bit with ByuN, where they'll rely so much on their micro that they'll actually sometimes, like you just kind of mentioned, make decisions that don't really line up with, like, this, in theory, is this good, right? Like, we used to see a lot from ByuN where he would do, like, remember the 3 racks plays he would do against, like, someone just sitting in one choke? You know, that type of thing, where it's like, oh gosh, you're playing into his hands, basically, but this works for you a lot of the time. But yeah, I don't know what that was all about. I hope that he can kind of get himself together here. Because, I mean, the rest of his game didn't look bad. He was taking pretty good engagements. It didn't look super duper amazing like it did for Maru and Ryung the other day. Like, they definitely both looked like they were in better shape, even just mechanically and micro-wise, but I don't want to count him out yet. That was kind of funny, by the way, this pylon and the dodge of that scout. Like,
yeah, we saw that happen earlier. That was wild. That it didn't get seen there. And it's going to be, I think I saw a gateway that was going to be made there.
Yeah.
So he's basically going to have, you know, some extremely aggressive play coming up here. And we were talking about Protoss taking a 3rd base and kind of playing a slow game. This should not be that.
He throws down the 3rd Nexus and is going up into, you know, that support bay.
It's kind of interesting to see a opening like this against somebody like ByuN because he does like the 2-base so often.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if you're 2-basing and powering up, you sort of organically stop timing attacks because you just have what you need. It's not really the plan, but it's just sort of a feature that happens if there's 2 different styles of play.
Totally.
And so, you know, let's see how this next attack goes, I guess. More Stalkers are going to warp in.
And there's an Observer that's going to be on the way here momentarily. Charge gets started. I mean, it's a little bit of a containing force, I guess, but it doesn't look like there's any real damage potential here.
I think there's none, man.
Like, there's not even a bunker, but I've never been less scared for a Terran than I am for ByuN right now.
Again, I'm a little bit surprised to see Zoun go for this. I mean, just because it's ByuN, I think ByuN, in no disrespect at all, but predictably so, went, you know, powering on 2 bases.
Well, maybe it's the follow-up that the gate's going to really help with. Oh, that was a nice pick-off. You know, 5 more gates being made right now, so he's going to be like 8-gate charge with Colossi. But out goes ByuN's Medivacs.
And these don't have 2 tanks in them, so this could be pretty strong, Artie.
The damage output's going to be a lot higher from these.
Imagine there were 4 tanks in there, though. We're like, man, ByuN's lost it.
4 tank drop. The only time you ever see that is back when we had Medanks. Remember Medanks?
No.
Tanks and Medivacs?
Oh, Medanks, the meme.
Man.
All right. I thought it was a player. I'm like, I actually don't.
You don't remember Medanks, the great Terran player?
Yeah. Captain of Team Madudu. I'm like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Team Madudu.
Have you gaslit me into thinking I have a memory problem?
All right, well, he gets his Zealot Warp in there, and I guess we'll slow this a little bit.
He gets Vengeance on that pylon. So Terran's going to move out.
That's a great Zealot, Tasteless.
Yeah, this guy is doing some work.
Damn.
So in the north, man, we've got a big push coming in here. I think there's one Colossus? No, there's two out here, excuse me. So he picks up. But the Zealot's going to spot it. And honestly, Stalkers could intercept this pretty quickly. I think ByuN can't commit now.
No, certainly not. Unloads, kills that Zealot off. Will back up. There's that bird-like thing. Falls down, it dies. Dark Shrine on the way.
Yeah, and
Pretty
Protoss-
passive right now.
Well, I think he has to be. Just send a few Zealots out wherever he can to try to do some damage. But basically, ByuN's fractured his army into two.
And it doesn't feel like there's anywhere for ByuN to attack, so I guess it's not bad that he's being passive. It's actually
No, I think it's
probably
fine.
very good.
Well, I think if this was, a couple years ago, we did see some Terrans overextend. I think that's how you lose. I mean, if we go back and think about Ryung's games, which were just out of this world, he really knew when to not engage at all. And I think some people can have a misconception that, like, if you're a pro gamer, you're always engaged in attacking. And not
certainly
really,
not
man.
the case.
There are definitely moments where it's like, no, that doesn't make any sense because you're in a good spot now, and you can ruin it. Like if you just, attack everywhere. I mean, if we go back to the old school greats like Marine King, so many of his games were literally that.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's just like, I'm attacking everywhere, and like sometimes people aren't ready for that, and other times all of his medevacs get blown up. And then he pulls his SCVs and attacks and loses.
Yeah, and at any given time in StarCraft, it's only like actually smart for one of the players to be attacking.
Yeah, if both sides are attacking,
Someone's
we've talked about
wrong.
this before, somebody has to be wrong. You're not supposed to be having your armies clash in the middle of the map.
And even if you're wrong, that doesn't mean it can't work for you. But it also doesn't mean you were right. I know that's a hard thing for people to understand sometimes, but, honestly, and here's the thing here, like, there are times where neither player should attack also, right? They're kind of filling things out right now. Protoss definitely shouldn't attack, and I don't see, like, Zoun is going about this carefully enough. Like, look at his army splits, look at his composition, look at his buildings. It doesn't feel like ByuN has anywhere he can hit right now, right? It feels difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no easy place to go, but this might be a good moment for ByuN to try to get another base here. I like the little position he's set up over here, making the tempting spots to expand into a little bit harder. Uh-oh. All right. Good pull away from ByuN.
Yeah, Zoun backing up here. Both sides maxed out, so someone's got to do something now.
And we see that other tiny army from ByuN on the mini-map not really being used right now. He's kind of playing it safe. I do like the position the Vikings can get here to try to hit the Observer or the Colossi.
Yeah.
And he's made that base useless. I mean, he can't mine there. So I think ByuN had the right idea in how he approached the map tactically here, making that an extremely inconvenient fourth base. And now I don't know if Protoss can leave this. The thing about ByuN, though, is if he overstays, he might end up just losing this army. But look at this. He's keeping Zoun off that Nexus. This is actually
This is
great.
nice, yeah. I like it. He's doing quite a good job with it. He's got enough ghosts in here that he definitely can punish if you overextend into him.
Where did the tanks go? I thought there were tanks sieged up somewhere over here.
Oh my god! Oh! That was nice. That was some good micro. Tanks? I don't know.
I thought he had tanks back there, somewhere in that attack. By the way, big attack over on this space. This should force a cancel. This is looking like a really good game here for ByuN.
Yeah, no, he's playing really solid. Hitting good locations here, too. Coming with a lot of damage.
He's not watching.
Yeah, he was definitely looking elsewhere.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, but he wins this side very well.
Yeah.
Gets rid of that Nexus.
Very true. I wonder, though, if now Zoun can try to move out, and there's our tank. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy. I thought I saw one of those. So now, I think that, positionally, ByuN's played his hand very well. Is there an opening here for Zoun to try to counterattack? I see him hitting this base over here, but if any infantry get here, this is just going to get wiped. It's just Zealots and Stalkers. Oh my god!
That is absolutely a couple insane
What?
hits. Oh, man.
Those are the craziest hits ever, man.
Yeah, those were
Huge
pretty
plays.
crazy.
Okay, I think that now there's a real opening here for Zoun.
No, he certainly went up in supply after those hits.
So does he go to the south, or does he go right over here to this base in the west? Looks like it's going to be the western base.
Nice microing back here from ByuN. I mean, he's got to lift this. This is not just going to stay there.
No.
SCV is getting picked off quite a bit.
Oh, I'm worried this damage is going to start to compound.
Yeah, especially with these disruptor balls. Just the disruptors being so strong when he's up against the wall.
Yeah, the Marines
And
coming
that's
here
gonna
from
be it.
behind. That should be GG.
Ah, that's too bad.
Well,
ByuN was playing pretty well, but
Yeah, but you know, his aggression sometimes can be a double-edged sword.
yeah.
His flank was shut down, but between the Colossi shots, but really the disruptor balls connecting, just went totally nuclear there. And it's going to be Zoun moving on. ByuN is going to be in the losers match, so he's not done yet. But we've got Rogue versus Zoun coming up, which I think is going to be an excellent PvZ.
Yeah, Zoun actually... Okay, you know what? I really liked Zoun pre-patch. I wonder what he's going to look like now, though. Because he was very much a Void Ray guy.
Yeah. Does he try to still make the Void Rays work, or does he try something totally different? I don't know. I mean, these are moments in GSL where we really get to see kind of the new meta with the best of the best.
And then, of course, we're going to have a ByuN in that loser match going up against Nightmare. I definitely think he's favored there. He didn't look bad here against Zoun. Maybe a couple questionable moves, but all right, we are going to go to a quick break. When we come back, that Rogue versus Zoun winner match.
Don't you know I'm breaking free? You'll never take control of me. 'Cause now I know, deep in my bones, I ain't alone. You can't stop the flood, you know I'm breaking free. I'm breaking free. You know I'm breaking free. You know I'm breaking free.
Can we go back in time when things were alright under the stars? A castle of a shadow divine. Can we go back in time when things were alright under the stars? A castle of a wanderer shines. A night time of love is magic in the air. Oh, Maryland, I used to like it here. The night time of love is magic in the air. Now all that is left is free for me to share. Can we go back in time when things were alright under the stars? A castle of a shadow divine. Can we go back? Under the stars. magic in the air. Now all that is left is me for me to share. Can we go back in time when things were alright under the stars? A castle of a shadow rewind.
I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I've been coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨
핫6.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
아침엔 라떼 헐리 점심엔 라떼 헐리 저녁엔 라떼 헐리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 헐리
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타
라떼 헐리 I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I've been coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨
핫6.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
아침엔 라떼 헐리 점심엔 라떼 헐리 저녁엔 라떼 헐리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 헐리
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타
라떼 헐리
이번 연도는 좀 엄청 많이 했거든요, 연습을. 본선으로 이어진 것 같아서 좋아요, 엄청. 몸보다는 실력으로 올라가려고 엄청 노력했어요.
그 이사를 했어요. 이사를 하고 레니가 요즘 너무 아팠어가지고 연습도 잘 못하고 제가 좀 고생을 좀 많이 했어요.
코로나 걸리면은 이제 대회도 못 나가니까 집에만 있어요.
해외에서 워낙 잘 못 먹다 보니까 운동도 안 하고 잘 안 먹어가지고 살이 좀 빠진 것 같아요.
많이 힘들었어요. 왜냐면 음식도 안 맞고 잠자리도 불편했고 그다음에 체력적으로 좀 많이 부담이 돼가지고
그냥 좀 아쉽긴 했는데 너무 험하게 져서 실력적으로 제가 밀린다고 생각을 한 선수한테 진 거라서 딱히 뭐 크게 충격은 없었던 것 같아요.
카토비체 때는 제가 확실히 마음을 좀 편하게 먹고 간 게 어차피 떨어질 텐데 진짜 마음 편하게 하고 오자 하니까 생각보다 게임도 잘 되고 긴장도 잘 안 하고 항상 GSL은 그게 안 되더라고요. GSL은 아무래도 한국에서 하는 경기이기도 하고 제가 데뷔한 대회이기도 하잖아요. 그래서 더 중요도가 높아가지고 그래서 더 긴장을 많이 하는 것 같아요.
연습하는 거 치면은 4강은 바라보고 있는데 그래도 오랜만에 오프라인이다 보니까 걱정이 되긴 해요. 성적은 시간이 지날수록 잘 내고 있기 때문에 이번 년에는 더 잘 낼 수 있을 것 같아요.
열심히 한 만큼 기쁨이 나오는 것 같아서 진짜 진지하게 한번 기뻐보고 싶어요.
이번 연도 4강에 올라갈 수 있을까요? 즐기는 것 또한 잊지 마라. 게임을 너무 압박받지 않고 즐기면서 하면 올라갈 수 있다고 하는 것 같네요.
GSL이 내년에도 계속될 수 있을까요? 오, 기다려라. 딱 4글자나 기다려라. 기다려라니까 뭐가 있으니까 기다리라는 거 아니겠어요? 그냥 긍정도 부정도 아닌 것 같아요.
이번 시즌에 우승을 할 수 있을까요? 굳은 결의는 좋은 결과를 가져다 줄 것이다. 맞는 말인 것 같아요. 왜냐면 이제 마음가짐이 되게 중요하기 때문에 되게 맞는 말이라 약간 자신감 생기는데요. 이번 시즌에 박영우 선수와 이병렬 선수를 이길 수 있을까요? 최선의 결정을 내리기 위해서는 침착해라. 제가 또 질 때 좀 많이 급했거든요. 맞는 말인 것 같아요.
제가 이번 시즌에 우승을 할 수 있을까요? 안심하고 믿어라. 느낌이 좋은데요? 군대 몸 안 다치고 제가 잘 생활할 수 있을까요? 수고할 만한 가치가 있다? 이거 다 좋은 말 아니에요? 될 놈 될인가 이게?
Today's matchup. Rogue, Nightmare, ByuN, Zoun. Most competitive 1 versus 1 game. Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live 2022 GSL Season 1 Code S.
Welcome back to Code S. So far, we had Rogue take down Nightmare 2-1. We had a really nice game in Game 2 there. And then Zoun took out ByuN 2-0. I think Game 2 was pretty reasonable. And now we're going into that winner's match. It's going to be Rogue going up against Zoun. I mean, obviously, Rogue should be the favorite here. But Zoun is strong. Zoun is looking good. I worry because his strongest play by far in this matchup, without any doubt, is Void Ray-based play into like Sky Toss. That's where we've seen him really excel in the matchup, even though he uses a lot of like adept play and stuff too. We normally don't see him succeed with that as much. So I'm wondering what he's going to show here against Rogue.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I mean, Rogue definitely always the favorite, but Zoun, you know, he's, I think, become, from the years past, of kind of being like, oh, it's Zoun, he's new, what's he like? He's so established now. He's a real threat. He's a real contender to be a GSL champion. We're going to get a taste of modern PvZ post-patch now with Rogue and Zoun on Hardwire.
2022 GSL Season 1. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Rogue. Alpha X, Zoun.
Yeah, I am wondering because if you recall the last few times we've casted Zoun in this matchup, like he'll win like a really nice or play a really nice game with like Sky Toss, and then he'll do like an Adept all in, and it just won't work. And we were talking a lot about that last time. But now, you know, Void Ray nerf and all, like we've seen like what Classic go for Void Ray Sky Toss. It may still be possible. But not entirely sure. I'm excited to see like how he's gonna go about this.
Well, he's always had a different handle on Protoss.
Yeah,
Seems
he
like
plays very differently.
It's kind of been a feature of all the good Protosses is they're a little bit different from each other. And that's not to say that all the other races play exactly the same, but I think sometimes Terrans especially kind of have to all kind of form a certain way of approaching the game, whereas I think Protoss...
There's more overlap with the other races than there is with Protoss stylistically.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, for sure.
You're definitely right. It's hard to put it exactly in words without... Like, you don't want to...
I don't want to make it sound derogatory.
It's not, but yeah, they...
I think it's because of the tech tree that Protoss have at the start.
Yeah.
You can have these wildly different branches in the builds.
Yeah.
And Zoun's always had his own kind of approach to this. You know, you talked about Void Rays, but I think Disruptors.
Yeah, for sure. Adepts. He loves Adepts.
Yeah, he loves Adepts. Now, the Void Ray has been nerfed, but you know, whenever anything gets, you know, nerfed in one way or the other, it's like, well, sometimes people have a tendency to be like, they're never going to be used now, or they can't be used, or, you know, nothing can be done. But, I mean, let's see.
I mean, the Stargate's coming. I think if you make a Stargate, you are going to get at least one Void Ray. You know, it's not nerfed so bad that you can't get one to kill Overlords.
It's
play
fine
a little
to
bit
sweep
of
with it, yeah.
Yeah. I think very likely it will see some Oracles. The way that he's rallying that, it's pretty clear he's going to make a Void Ray first. But Yeah, the big question is, will he actually go like 2 Stargate Void Rays after his 3rd base and go into like carriers or something like that, or is it just going to be that sweeping Void Ray?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about, because you know the first Void Ray can kind of be like a lights out unit where you just kill off the scouts and then you say, okay, now the observers and the casters and the viewers can see what my real plans are here. And that could be a lot more Void Rays, or it could be, you know, a hard shift and it's just a bunch of adepts, or, you know, all the different ideas you could have encapsulated on a Protoss currently on 2 bases.
Look at that shield battery right off the bat.
Yeah, like a preemptive shield battery.
Yeah. I don't hate something like that. It's interesting to see it, though, right?
I was wondering if maybe he just gets canceled after the Overlord
Yeah,
gets
that's
killed,
what I was.
where
Yeah.
it's like you make this and then you stop it just so that, like, if they had ideas of attacking in, they wouldn't do it.
It's possible
but
that he did that. No, it looks like it did finish. I can see it on the minimap. Hey, air attacks.
Yeah, so this seems like it's going to be a commitment to amass more air units, but we don't have more being made right now. We've got the Void Ray. We saw the Oracle graze by the screen headed to the south, and it's going to be more Void Rays, at least for now.
And yeah, with that Forge coming up, it makes me feel like he's going to start +1 as opposed to getting that for cannons, because you wouldn't want cannons this early. Yeah, look at that. Twilight and the Robo coming up as well, so... Yeah, this is actually, it's a little bit hard to read, right? This is somewhat original here, because he's making 1 Void Ray at a time and getting +1. You know, his Zerglings always eventually run up and check the core, so like +1 can be a red herring in some ways. And I mean, it could just be that he says, you know what, let's make like 4 or 5 Void Rays, and if you make a certain number of Void Rays, obviously +1 air attacks is going to be bad, and you know, if a game goes really long, you're going to go into carriers anyways against Zerg. You don't have to go Void Rays into carriers. You can go ground units into carriers. So it's not that expensive. I mean, it's just a good upgrade. But seems reasonable, right? Like, I mean, without transfuse off creep, you're never going to die to a push if you have like 3-4 Void Rays, right? Like,
I think so. I mean, it basically keeps you safe, and it allows the game to extend out further on. I really like that hatchery snipe over there. It seems like on this map and all the matchups, there's little ways to get behind that base specifically, top or bottom, and kind of take a jab at it. In that case, getting that hatchery when its HP was very low, it's an excellent kill. And this, honestly, unless Zerg decides to do something really aggressive, should be a slow game. And I think Zerg's going to try to do something aggressive. We have Roaches and 8 Morlings coming out here. We saw 16 earlier.
Yeah, he does have that +1 melee on the way as well. Here comes the Spire. I think he thinks that it's like straight up some sort of sky toss, but it's really, really, really not.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so he sent the Queens here. Now, you can't transfuse off creep, but you could have Overlords make creep. And so...
I like it.
You know, we talked about this in, I can't remember if it was Group A or Group B, but basically the idea is like, oh, you thought this was patched out? I'm going to play a little bit differently and do the exact same thing.
But look at this. He is throwing down a lot of static D there. Shield batteries, I'm sure there must be a cannon or 2 being put in there as well. Stasis Ward waiting. Some Archons being made. Decent amount of Voids in here as well. All right. Stasis catches a lot of those Lings.
Gets the stun on the Lings, but the Queens are going to come forward here. And now comes the creep being dropped. And so this is like a huge moment to attack in here. I mean, it is not clear that
I love the attempt, but misses it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it doesn't quite hit the mark there. Now he backs up, but there's 13 mutas inbound here. So I don't think this attack is done yet.
I like the tumor being there, by the way.
Yeah. Well, he's got a really nice foothold over here. Well, he did until that observer helped him take the creep tumor out. But basically, Rogue is about to try to really go hard here. 15 mutas hatched, 30 Lings inbound. He's going to keep making mutas too. 6 more coming, +1 air is on the way.
Yeah.
And I think he's hoping for kind of a lopsided defensive army here from Zoun. Maybe one that's going to be a little bit okay against Lings, but not equipped to really deal with the Mutas in the air.
Well, Disruptor Void Ray does not deal with Mutalisks, not at all.
Archons are fine against Mutas, but of course you can just avoid them entirely. And he's going to go straight into the main.
Yeah, oh, and I saw Zoun's face as those Mutas flew in.
Yeah.
He was completely shocked and unhappy. So really, really, really not ready for this, unfortunately. Rogue is actually attacking into the Archon Zealot right now with his Zergling. So, I mean, it looks like he will end up losing those. Maybe not the greatest engagement right here by the Mutas. I feel like he's giving Zoun a little bit of time.
Yeah, well, he definitely wanted to go with the trade there. Now, there's more Mutas coming, and you got to bear in mind, I mean, all these Mutas could just come from the larva. I mean, as long as you can afford it, you can make it when you're on this many bases here. Whereas if you're going to make, you know, air units, they're only going to each come out of one Stargate. So he's getting 3 Phoenixes at a time. But I'm worried that the defense right now here from Zoun is getting a little bit brittle. Zealots are coming out here to counterattack, and they're being met with Lings. And unless we can really start to see these Phoenixes generate a threat, and I just don't know if the math is going to be there for the number of Mutas that are hatching out here.
Yeah, if like he already had range or something, maybe, but
yeah,
on these numbers, it's really hard. The Mutas are putting out so much damage right now.
Yeah, and now they're going to go to the source here, take out the Stargate, and he could even go up here and maybe unpower this one Stargate up here as well. I mean, this is pretty rough. Takes the battery out, a cannon finishes. Maybe this is going to be enough to help him defend. Gets that cannon, gets the pylons.
It's excellent micro from Zoun. No question there.
Yeah.
But the Mutalisk flock is so gigantic right now. It's really difficult to play against.
He's stopped range here.
Yeah.
So, like,
huge.
He's basically going to try to overpower what is supposed to be the counter to the Mutalisk here. You know, he's going to try to actually just basically bludgeon the few remaining Phoenixes. There's no way to get more pylons up here in the air. Now it's down to 3 Phoenixes, and I feel like Rogue has really pulled off like a masterclass game of actually beating Phoenixes with Mutas. He's like, no. I have got this down to a science.
He really caught him with those Mutas. Like, it was kind of a ground pound force that was made by Zoun.
Well, I think it was also a ground pound all-in faked out by Rogue. You know, when the creep tumors came down there, it's like he just had Lings. And the Queens are there. And, you know,
that's a really good point.
We casted right into that, too. I'm like, well, Artosis, you can try skills now. Watch out, gamers. And then, like, 50 Mutas come out. And I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very well done game from Rogue. Huh. I like that. I liked the ideas from Zoun, but let's not forget, like, he did not really have a lot of scouting going on in the map, right? He was just making voids. It's not like we saw hallucinations flying around or an oracle going around figuring out what was being built.
Much, no.
So it was a little bit blind, and I like the idea overall, but Mutas seem to be the perfect counter against it.
Well, we're going to go to Berlingrad for Game 2. It was a fun early game, but Rogue really crushed it at the end. Let's see what happens in the rematch.
2022 GSL Season 1. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Rogue. Alpha X, Zoun.
A little hatch block going on. Nothing really out of the ordinary, though. Rogue will just bypass, make his hatchery at that 3rd.
Cool game from from Rogue back there.
Yeah, yeah, it was
very
well done.
impressive.
You're right. Like I like the speed overlords coming for the possible transfusions. I mean, he didn't really commit that much into the attack. Just some Lings, some Queens.
No, he just like put everything there and ran away. And I think that's one that would probably be worth going back and looking at again.
Yeah.
Seeing like just how much did Zoun actually overreact?
It's a little bit of an older Zerg tactic too, right? Like, especially when you're going roaches to kind of fake. I don't know if you recall, but there was like this big era, like 5 to 6 years ago, where it would be like there would be some Ling Roach over on your side of the map, and the only way you could really tell that it was going to be Muta is there would just not quite be enough gas spent with the army. You know what I mean? They would like really make it look aggressive, and then it would be Muta suddenly.
Yeah.
And so you kind of had to read what you weren't seeing with the army. It's like, why are they being so in your face with this? Like, and I think you can take the same type of idea there, where it's like, wait, this is like 20 to 30 lanes and like 8 queens, and then they just back up. It's like
he drops it immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a funny thing because when you're scouting in StarCraft, you know, you're always looking for like, oh, it's a proxy. Oh, I don't see a layer. You know, whatever that is. Okay, it looks like he's going to upgrade Charger Glaives or you know. But then there's these moments where like you see queens walking on the middle of the map, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
And you have to like,
yeah.
You know that, you know, as fast as StarCraft 2 fights go, like if you don't actually do the next couple inputs that are the most important things that have to be happening in that moment, like making batteries, like setting up your army, like just confirming any other upgrades before you have to focus on this fight at your third, you're going to lose. And, you know, there's ways to basically take advantage of that. Is that someone like Rogue can do, where he can basically disguise a whole army movement. And by the way, those queens, they were not, you know, larva injecting. They were not doing a lot of the stuff they could have been doing, but the ruse was more important than having, you know, mechanical completion of all other things that they could be doing back in the base. And so, you know, not opening, but bringing that play in the game, and then blindsiding the Protoss with mutas and swaying the fight so hard that then all the Stargates are shut down. Cool way to win.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Rogue going for a completely different way to win. He has a lot of Lings and Roaches coming across the map. Just saw the first Void Ray, so obviously that's not bad for Zoun that he has a Void Ray out here. Let's see what Rogue can get done with this attack.
So he's looking for Overlords. Oh, he turns away. Because these Lings.
Yeah, yeah. That's an excellent bait right there. It's just pulling him to this side.
Yeah, he's going to come back. Whoop, you going to get me?
This is like a 2-base carrier opener, by the way.
Yeah, well, I don't know how this is going to fare. I don't know how this is going to fare against all these Lings and Roaches here, Artosis. A force field comes up, but not blocking out anything that's important. All the Lings are going to get through.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very quick victory, it's looking like, for Rogue. Unfortunately, Zoun not with many units there.
Yeah, Rogue knows how to kill him. All right, you gonna kill that pylon? Will I get the completion that I need in my life?
Yeah, you even see that this was kind of a sneaky build here. 2 Stargate with the Fleet Beacon. And Rogue, I mean, that's interesting, isn't it, that Nightmare actually had, I think, a better series against Rogue than Zoun did.
That was crazy. That was... I feel like we barely got to get into the series, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That one was a bit anticlimactic there, unfortunately.
Well, I feel like I was still processing that cool play from Rogue in Game 1, and then in Game 2, he's like, "Watch this."
Yeah.
Zoun's looking around like, "Where'd my watch go?" And he's like, "My wallet, and my phone are gone." And then he realizes that Rogue is already in the round of 10.
I think Zoun still has decent shots to get out of here, though.
I don't think that series is representative of where Zoun's going to be in the rest of the games here today. We know he beat ByuN. Nightmare is the underdog. I do think Zoun does have better PvP than Nightmare.
Yeah.
I know I'm very brave for going out on a limb with that one, but
that's wild.
Sticking to my guns.
Say that.
Andy's back, and we're going to have an interview now with Rogue. Andy, take it away.
All right, so the first player to move on to the round of 10 today is Rogue, and we're going to have an interview with him. Congratulations. Thank you. And there was no upset today, and you have safely landed in the round of 10. How do you feel? Well, the system changed, and you know, I used to always start in the round of 24. And now that the groups are hard, you know, I have the motivation to try harder.
더 가까워진 것 같아가지고.
and practice harder. And now,
자,
now that I'm in the round
하드와이어
of 10, it feels like I'm
정말
closer to victory.
경기부터 이야기를 해볼게요. 괴멸충 소수로 지상 싸움 심리전을 하시고 뮤탈리스크 정말 노련했습니다.
And you played the Ravagers
이런
and the
심리전의
ByuN so well
배경을 좀
in the
들어보고
series.
싶은데요.
So I want to hear the background behind that.
명우가 하는 게임을 보고 아 나도 저런 식으로 해야겠다고.
You know, I've been watching Dark play, and then I've been trying to learn from him.
했는데 제가 준비
And hence I used the strategy today.
상황이 더 좋았던 것 같아가지고.
And I feel like today was a very good timing to use the strategy on stage.
승리에 대해서도 이야기를 나눠보겠습니다. 마찬가지로 불안감도 없었고.
Alright, let's talk about the women's match. There was no danger in the series.
사실 이 경기가 지지 않으려고
And
가장
today,
안전하게 했던 경기인데
you had one loss.
참 아이러니하게 패배를 한
And ironically,
끝나고 좀
it felt like
어떤
you could have
생각하셨어요?
won the game, but you lost the game instead. So what was that about?
너무 방심했다고 생각해가지고.
You know, when the game ended, you know, I think it was just me
생각을 많이 했고.
like putting my guard down.
그냥 제가 상대 그 불멸자를 보고 올인이라고 생각을 하고.
You know, I considered the enemy to be going for the all-in when I saw the Phoenix, but I think that was my failure.
자, 오늘 경기 외적인 질문까지
Alright, let's talk
드려보겠습니다.
outside the game now.
GSL 최고의 적의자 IEM
So
카토비체를
the GSL's best Zerg rogue.
선수.
And
사실
you have
올해
made
IEM
it to round
결승에
4 in
없었다는
Katowice.
것 자체가 좀 이상했어요. 좀
And you
결승에
couldn't
못
go to
올라간
the
아쉬움이
finals this
없겠어요.
time. So you must be really sad about that.
4강에 대진을 봤을 때 아 이거 이번에도 좀
You know, when I saw the round of 4 brackets,
들었는데
I felt like I might be able to go to the finals.
했고,
And the schedule was quite tight.
또 저는 제 스스로 세라 선수를 이기려면은 제가 준비를 되게 잘해야 된다고
And personally,
생각을
in order for me to beat Cero, I know I need to go through thorough preparation, and I wasn't able to have that period.
참여를 하실 만큼
And hence, I
풀리그에도
lost.
조금 익숙하신 편인데 GSL 이 풀리그 좀 자신 있으신가요?
So are you fully confident in the GSL full league
풀리그를
system?
하면은 제가 조에 이길 만한 상대들이 몇 명 있어요. 근데 이번에는
You know, before there used to be always players in my group that I was fully confident that I would beat.
남은 시간
But now I feel like that's not true anymore. So I'm gonna have to practice harder in the meantime.
GSL에서 1회씩은 우승을 하실 만큼 이 GSL에서 이 독보적인 위치에
I mean, Rogue, you've shown like a phenomenal performance in GSL
중에서
in the past.
언제쯤 우승하겠다 저 예언 한마디 해주신다면.
And do you think you'll be able to win
시즌
this
1이
season?
제가 우승할 수 있는 제일 좋은 것 같아요.
I feel like this season, season 1, is gonna be my
스카이토스가 없어져가지고 거의
my
이제 좀
potentially the easiest for me to win
열심히만 하면은
in this season,
이제 좀
because the
무서운
Protoss
게
is
없다고
not looking so good right now due to the recent
같다.
nerfs.
밸런스 패치 관련해서도 질문
Let's
하나만
talk about the balance
드려보겠습니다.
patch now.
프로토스 선수들이 GSL 10강에 프로토스 한 명도
So not a
없었다.
single Protoss player has landed in the round of 10 so far.
좀 어떻게 생각을
So
하세요?
2 Zergs and 2 Terrans, and now you joining the
프로토스
round 10 as well.
지금은 전 적부전이 토스가 더 좋다고 생각해요.
I feel like the
근데
ZVP, the Protoss is favored.
저우가 좀 더 좋아질 거라고 생각을 하고 있어요.
But I do feel like in
이번 시즌
the late game, the Zerg gets better.
저그전은 그래도 많이 이길 것 같고 저는 투저전보다는 투태전이 토스들이 더 어려워한다고 생각을 해가지고.
So personally, I think the Protoss, they find it harder to face Terran players instead of Zerg players. So that's what I think.
자, 이병렬 선수의 10강 진출 역시 이변은 없었습니다.
There was no upset today in Rogue's
들어보겠습니다.
advancement to round of 10. So before you go, anything you want to say?
손쉽게 올라가서 열심히 연습을
You know, today has been quite an easy road to round of 10.
부터 이제 또 이제 GSL 결승까지 열심히
And
연습해서
I will try hard
우승
from
꼭
the round of
하도록
10 to the finals in this season of
다시 한번
GSL.
10강 진출 축하드립니다.
Once again, congratulations, Rogue. Thank you.
네, 이렇게 이병렬 선수와 계속해서 이벤트 안내해드리겠습니다.
It's a lot easier to keep a straight face when you got a mask on, isn't it? Oh my God,
We were laughing during that interview.
Woo! Not only is Protoss favored against Zerg, but Protoss are more afraid of Terrans than Zerg players. Let me write that one down real quick. Okay, so Rogue advances.
The Zerg Illuminati are putting that on the new dollar bill. That's impressive. All right, well, we have our first survivor of the night. It is Rogue moving on, but we've got 3 players left, 2 Protoss and a Terran. I think it's probably going to be between Zoun and ByuN. I think most likely Zoun, but we got to see how Nightmare is going to fare here against ByuN coming up next.
Yeah. Luckily, he's... Well, unluckily, I guess he's more afraid of ByuN's Terran than Rogue Zerg, so I guess we'll see how that goes for him.
We got a break, guys. We'll be right back.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스.
아침엔 라떼, 홀리 점심엔 라떼, 홀리 저녁엔 라떼, 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
라떼 홀리. I'll be coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I'll be coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스.
아침엔 라떼, 홀리 점심엔 라떼, 홀리 저녁엔 라떼, 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
라떼 홀리.
Today's matchup. Rogue, Nightmare, ByuN, Zoun. Most competitive 1 versus 1 game. Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live. GSL Season 1, Code S.
We are back, and it's time to do the losers match. ByuN versus Nightmare is up next. And let's not forget, man, Nightmare took a piece of Rogue in his best of 3. If you can beat Rogue in a game, you can beat anybody. Right now, he's got to beat ByuN.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're not entirely sure how Nightmare is going to play here today because, you know, you had a couple of oof games and one really, really good game. So that's, you know, 66% of the time it's oof and like only 33% of the time he's a super Gosu. So like, what does that mean? Well, like, how is he going to play against ByuN?
But 33% of the time, it's super Gosu 100% of the time.
That's true. So it's really coin flip is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Protosses are more afraid of Terrans than Zerg, so...
Yeah, well, Rogue filled us in on that one. That was a little insider info there.
That was the greatest interview since Maru destroyed a really hard group and said he played at 40%.
Guys, we are going to go to Hardwire. One of these two players is about to be eliminated from the GSL as Zoun waits in the final match. ByuN vs Nightmare, best of 3, starts now.
2022 GSL Season 1. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
It's cough.
Team Envy, Nightmare.
You know, I can't stop thinking about that Rogue interview. And like, I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what we should do, Tasteless, is when innovation gets out of the military, we need to sit Rogue and innovation down and just, like, make them have a conversation about balance on camera.
I think we should. I think
like
we
that
need
would
to...
be the greatest. That would be the. You know what? The funny thing is, they'd probably end up agreeing at the end that Protoss needs nerfs. Like maybe something like that.
Yeah, that would no doubt be a journey of truth to get to the core of what's really going on. Shining. I mean, that interview was just so funny to me. It's like, actually, they're even more afraid of the other race. I'm like, well, then what does this tournament mean? What about the thing that we're all counting?
Okay. Nightmare going for some cheese here.
Ches.
Has a Zealot on the way. Cybernetics Core as well. ByuN getting in here and seeing double gas, so he knows something's up. Command center to the main base, a good choice. What do you think it's going to be? Stargate?
I think so.
Could be a Robo. That's an okay location for a Robo, I think.
Robo would be actually probably more exciting, but it's
it is
not.
Stargate,
Oh,
okay.
boo.
Oh, boo.
Oh, poo-poo on this game.
Now, but do you think it's a Void Ray?
Well,
we don't care that he found it. It's fine.
Let's see.
He's looking for the probe.
Yeah. Can the Reaper kill the pylon in time?
This is so. It's such a funny little thing, right? Because like, if you really focus on trying to kill the pylon, then they just run up and make one, and the probe dies. But you get the pylon, so it's like not really worthwhile.
Watching a Reaper attack like a pylon is really a moment that kind of brings. You know, this is all sci-fi, but that really becomes too real. It's like me trying to destroy any building with a gun.
Yeah,
you know?
it's hard, especially with those
like,
little
Nick,
handguns.
Tasus, are you trying to destroy that outhouse? I'm like, yeah, I just have to go through about 60 more bullets before this thing is completely gone.
Okay, is this going to be Twilight? Is he going to go Oracle into Blink? Yeah, he is. I've seen Oracle into DT as well, but
yeah,
when I see that, I just shake my head because it's like, doesn't the turret counter everything you're doing? One missile turret? What if he makes a missile turret? You're like, oh, we go to game 2. That's what happens.
We hope he made a missile turret that can only shoot down is the thing.
And has no detection.
Yeah.
We'll see what it is. I guess it might really be DT, but
well, we're going to see in a second here. Already, this has become a pretty hairy game here. Both sides. Here we got an eBay block over at the NAT. Double tech here. Super fast ETs. Now again, when you spot that Stargate, that's occasionally when, you know, there's the temptation, especially if you're a pro, to get a little bit too greedy, right? You know, it's something we talk about from time to time, but it's kind of worth saying is like, there are things that won't work against bad players because bad players are sometimes trying to be too safe or just counter everything, where like a really good player is just going to like identify exactly what you can do and in their head think out, okay, if he's doing this and this, then I can probably get away with this and this.
Yeah.
And so let's try to do that.
Yeah.
What? Okay. And then that gets spotted.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
This is a nightmare if you're him.
Well, he can always just cancel it again like he did
GG
against
and find
Rogue.
out he's playing that game with no pants on right now, Artosis.
And he cancels after getting the SCB out of there. I feel like we need to make a nickname for Nightmare at this point. Something about canceling the Dark Shrine. Call him Dark Cancel.
It's so dumb.
Or Fake Shrine, maybe?
Yeah.
That's his calling card, is to start a Dark Shrine but never finish it.
To then cancel it and GG out of the game. It's like sick.
I knew Dark Shrines took a long time, but Nightmare games, like he starts them in 2 minutes and finishes them at 30.
This is rough. I mean, you hit 2 buildings, 2 pylons, I should say, and both of the hidden techs got spotted. And I mean, if you're the Terran, you're getting more and more confident in your position here.
Yeah.
So Blink's going to be done.
ByuN's going out to check on that Dark Shrine. We're trying to, at least. He's a single Marine. Won't be allowed. Third Nexus is coming up. At the natural, of course. And, I mean, there's no damage to be dealt. What do you think, Tasus? How's it going?
I'm worried for our boy Cancel Shrine, or whatever you called him.
Dark Cancel.
Dark Cancel, thank you. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to look at this game and think, like, all right, you know, how are you going to handle this against ByuN, who's sort of known for 2-base powering, right? Where you're just getting further and further behind. You have tech that's kind of, your tech's hanging out on the map. And I mean, we're going to have a pretty strong push coming up here. Blink is handy, but You know, ByuN's already pretty tactful when he comes in here with these small groups of units. That 2-base push coming in here, Nightmare might have a hard time staying alive, Artosis.
Yeah, this is a lot of units for ByuN. It's going to be pretty difficult on 3 bases here with just a few Blink Stalkers. Does start to go home. Has a couple sentries back there, but I mean, that's only going to buy a little bit of time. You know, I think like he's tagging, and tagging can be useful, but I feel like this is the type of situation where you definitely want a stasis ward out. You know, you want to catch half the army, and like that's how you might actually win a battle here.
You need something, man.
Yeah, he's not really giving himself many opportunities to actually win any sort of fight.
Well,
right?
you
Like
know,
tagging that doesn't make your army stronger or his weaker.
Yeah, you're just like, oh man, he's really coming at me.
Yeah.
Oh man, and
boy.
kind of miscontrolled that. The Zealots end up getting, you know, almost stopped before they were able to do what they needed to do. Really, the Zealots are supposed to come in after the main army starts to engage. Another warp in here. ByuN really not missing a beat here, even picks up some of that infantry on the outside.
Oh boy, it's getting worse and worse and worse right now.
Reinforcements are coming here. The batteries are depleted.
Yeah, some decent force fields come out right there.
And I mean, things are so softened up here. There's not that much energy on the medevacs anymore. So I guess ByuN decides to back off. But
yeah,
you know,
he's grinded so much down though. This is a very good position
in fact,
for him.
I'm a little bit surprised that the Protoss is pursuing this.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
like maybe he's just looking to pick off like hurt medevacs or something here, but definitely his army is not one that really wants to fight that right now. He does reinforce it a little bit, starts to move forward here once again. Another tag.
And just going to try to attack up here like this.
Yeah,
I mean, is this going to work out, man? Again, I feel like when you just have the Stalkers and the Zealots and a sentry or two, you probably need to be close to home. I mean, the Terran army just kites better. That's why so much of this matchup is a build-up into splash damage for the Protoss.
Look at this, bringing him back into some mines here. It's just like a never-ending battle of Zealots being picked off.
Yeah, Protoss units getting whittled down.
Yeah, he's down 20 army supply right now. He's down in workers as well.
We've got the War Prism coming, but really we need to see the Colossi or Disruptors come out here.
Yeah, he
it
is
is
getting
a
a second
stylistic
robo,
thing.
so.
Yeah, so he's going to have a little bit more muscle here soon. But I think that ByuN's going to actually attack out again. I think he's really letting the income of that third base kick in here, and he's taking a fourth, and I think this is both a moment to kind of keep the Protoss off his back, but also look for any opportune moments to take a fight, which ByuN really is one of the best at in the whole world.
Well, Nightmare's still macroing pretty well, has a decent amount of units here, but unfortunately his flanks are just not there. Losing more and more Zealots as ByuN micros back. Disruptors on the way. I think Disruptors are actually a much better call than Colossi here because the situation is a bit dire, so I think you need a little bit of luck on your side, right?
Yeah, or you need to have a connection that's going to really just obliterate that. I don't know if that's luck or not, but you need something, right? And you need
Disruptor
to make it
and a
happen.
dream, man.
Because, you know, if you're going to go with just Colossus, yeah, I mean, that might work in some straight-up fights, but I feel like ByuN's been so fluid here. Nice EMPs, pretty much everything. No more shields.
Yeah, throws down the overcharge, so we'll be able to heal a lot of this back up. He doesn't get the big hit he's looking for. This is getting very close to the end.
There's going to be another warp in here. The Sentry is going to put out some fresh force fields, but the juggling back is quite good here. And again, when these force fields disappear, actually ByuN backs up and loops around.
Yeah, his medevacs are low. There's no reason to just continually suicide in. Like, just reinforcing is making his army like so much stronger by comparison.
And this means that Nightmare hangs on a little bit longer. Oh, what?
Wow.
Oh my God, he's gonna get to unload all that in there. Wow. And there's another attack coming up here that we're not watching. So And this is the important one because it's going to go after all these important tech units like the disruptors, which are basically completely exposed.
Oh, just gets that one in the nick of time. The Zealot's charging into some of these mines here. And ByuN is winning on all fronts. I think Nightmare's going to GG.
Game one's going to go to ByuN. Nightmare, you know, he had a bumpy start, and that led to a pretty turbulent mid-game. ByuN takes it. And Zoun continues to wait. Again, Nightmare, he got that win off of Rogue. He had a bad game one against Rogue, and he came back in game two and looked very strong. He needs to do that here now. And I do think ByuN is considerably more beatable than Rogue for Nightmare.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Obviously, he got scouted on both of his sneaky techs.
Yep.
Does he fall back into more of a macro game? Or is he going to try something cheesy once again?
You know, it does seem like when Nightmare tries to be cheesy and surprise players, it completely backfires. I wouldn't mind seeing him play a conservative game. I think ByuN's pretty much indicated he's okay two-basing in all these games.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the same ideas.
Fits his style. I mean, get a lot of units, micro them around, see what you can do. And it's going to keep you safe against a player like Nightmare.
Pride of Alteris for Game 2 starts now between ByuN and Nightmare.
2022 GSL Season 1. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN. Team Envy, Nightmare.
What?
What?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
That is not something that you ever see.
Oh, God.
So he actually misses the hidden barracks back there. 2 probes being sent out in different directions, I think to scout for proxies. So ByuN's snap there of killing the probe is paying off so much, it's insane. Like, look at this. He's sacrificing such a huge amount of his economy.
2 probes is a lot, dude. And then
3
he's not going to
probes.
see anything, so he's like, oh my God, where is this proxy? Oh, is it 3?
Well, he lost
Oh, no, you
one.
killed one, excuse me. I was like, what?
Yeah, now he sent a 3rd one down the center.
Don't you see the 4th one that's also there, Tasus? I'm like, I feel like I'm going crazy. So, I mean, this honestly, that probe kill is unprecedented.
You actually don't even see people try that anymore. I remember very specifically people were trying to figure out if that was the right thing to do when anything went through your mineral line like years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
And it basically, it's if you're just quick as the scout, you can get out of there, and then there's a lot of lost mining time, so it's kind of not worth it because you have to give your opponent some credit, but ByuN made the call, and I mean, that hurts as Nightmare. You look at it, you're like, that doesn't normally happen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's a sick play by ByuN, but it's also humiliating for Nightmare, right? I mean, he probably hasn't lost a probe like that in months. You know, in all the games.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer than that. Goes for the pylon block on the add-on.
Oh, I like that. It's kind of cool. You're going to cancel it, of course.
Yeah. Gonna start building cannons, Zaratosis. Have you lost it, man?
Dude, he just looked at that and he said, you know what? Let's just pretend this is a dark shrine.
So, ByuN staying on one base versus, you know, the quick expand here for Nightmare into the Twilight Council. Couple tech options there. I can't imagine it's going to be DT again. Especially against a one base Terran.
I'm actually very excited to see if it is. No, I think you're right though. It's you would at least need to throw down a robo, right? You're not just gonna walk a DT across the map. Reaper jumps up. I like this. Oh man, things not going well for Nightmare, unfortunately. Oh! Oh, good save.
So it's gonna be Blink Stalker. And I don't know. I mean, if I'm Nightmare here, I'd probably try to play a pretty passive game. I don't think he's going to commit too hard with any Blink Stalkers. This is just sort of like the tech you're going to get to basically keep yourself safe.
Yeah. Should be taking the third base with it. He has his probe in position. Definitely not a well-optimized game, unfortunately, for Nightmare. But I mean,
you can still win. It's just you know, things like this just basically don't happen in GSL caliber games. So it's kind of a. I feel for Nightmare. You know, he's getting broken into GSL pretty quick here for this season.
Yeah. Not an easy group. So right now, ByuN, very well defended. A couple Cyclones in that main mineral line. 3 barracks producing. But it's not a bad build here from Nightmare, right? Like, nice quick third Nexus, adding those gates, getting a Forge up to get a +1. And if he can just kind of parry the first couple moves that ByuN makes, can definitely be in a decent spot.
I think he just has to play a slow game and just do exactly what you said, man. Just parry the first few attacks. You know, ByuN, he loves to get aggro, but he does at times overstep, and you know that's really where a lot of these players will try to capitalize on that. It's why ByuN was such an exceptional player when he did become a world champion, because usually players like this don't. Because it's so hard to actually do that against every other player that stands in your path in the world, you know? So we've got a big set of gates coming up here.
Yeah, he's on like 8 gates now.
And yeah, that's actually even more than I thought he was going to get with charge here. So maybe he's hoping that there's going to be a third base coming down, or an attack that he just completely runs over with charge lots.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to go very heavy onto those charge lots. Like, he hasn't even got gases at his natural, so it doesn't look like more tech is coming anytime soon. Getting a full scout here is going to finally see that barracks pick. Oh, that's where that was.
Yeah. And also get confirmation that there's not a third that's been started here. And, you know, there's a chance that when this attack comes out over here for ByuN, that it is going to get completely smothered by Nightmare.
Yeah,
It's going to be a surprising amount of +1 attack zealots with charge.
Yeah. He needs to buy just a little bit more time here. Definitely needs a couple rounds. Where are those rounds? All right, there we go. 1 round just came in. ByuN picks up. Going around. There are 8 Blink Stalkers, so they are a little bit out of position compared to this drop.
So they're going to do a little unload over here. And so far so good here. Gets a lot of kills. Now keep in mind, guys, on the mini-map, another small force is going to come down here and try to hit this third base. Here it is now.
Yeah,
now,
that's not going to work, though.
ByuN kind of mismanaged that drop as well. I think he overcommitted a little bit. You just need them to kind of stay there a little bit too long and pull away. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to lose both those medevacs. And honestly, a bit of a clumsy attack overall.
Yeah, that was better for Nightmare than for ByuN for sure.
Yeah, a bit too heavy-handed there from ByuN.
Yeah, it played into Nightmare's hands,
well,
I think.
Nightmare went for Blink, and you know, when you're on a low number of gates and you have Blink like that, you're basically trying to catch all the attacks that Terran have while getting out enough probes and developing enough of your infrastructure that you're going to be in a great spot, and that's literally what happened there.
Yeah.
He was able to do all that and stop the drops. And honestly, if you're killing both the infantry that come out and the medevacs, you're winning big time.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Nightmare going to go across the map. He does have a lot of charge lots in here. Actually picks off the mines reasonably well. Some of them getting some pretty good connections, though, so he's going to have to back up. So ByuN holds on in the center.
So it looks like Nightmare was going to try to take this little victory that he had and look for maybe a place to fight it. If he could stop Terran from being on a third base, that would be pretty big. But I don't know if that this is a very welcoming angle for charge lots to come into. It's very bottleneck-like.
Yeah,
You basically have, like, it's actually a very weird entry point for anybody that's going to attack. And yeah, I mean, when you see it in a gauge like that, especially when you could stim and kite, I mean, it seems pretty manageable, right? So maybe Nightmare wants to try to loop up to the top. I'm kind of surprised he's even still coming from this angle.
Yeah, he's like threatening it, but you think you're definitely right. He can't really take it. Okay, well, that's... Well, he buys time for this to get into the main. Okay,
yeah, we're probably going to have a big warp in come in here. But again, he's basically set up a gauntlet of charge lot baits if he's going to try to attack through that angle to get to the base.
Unfortunately for Nightmare, there's enough units in ByuN's base that he's actually dealing with this rather quickly. And the Prism comes back in. Is he going to do another warping round? Doesn't look like it right now. Nightmare withdrawing.
Nightmare's made this very hard on himself.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know? An inconvenient angle, try to push in on there, and then like I mean the Zealots, they're going to be a bit of a nuisance, but let's watch this attack over here. I don't feel like there's enough for Protoss, man.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. He might just
Nightmare is just having a rough evening, man.
I guess he won't, but like, look at the supplies right now. This is he has bled off so much that all ByuN needs to do is stabilize for a second and go across the map.
He's treating it like he killed off the entire Terran's army in that attack.
Yeah.
And then if he really did do that, then it's time to move. But why would he have not waited for like Storm like this to come in and take a fight, right? When he had all these Tier 1 units. Now he's going to start moving in now. Maybe Nightmare's got a shot here.
Maybe. Like, he's starting to trade a lot better. A lot of very damaged units here for ByuN. Zealots doing a decent job. Main army coming down. There are still Zealots in the main base.
Again, it seems like it's close, but maybe not close enough to actually kill him. Actually, dude, with these Zealots in here, you know, a second ago we were saying the Nightmare was going to lose this. Well,
I thought, well,
I'll take it back.
He was doing. It seemed like he was doing very poorly with everything, and then ByuN just kind of ate a few storms, and Zealots were in his main base. He didn't quite stabilize like he needed to. I really think ByuN kind of messed up there at the very end.
Well, it's like Nightmare through and then ByuN through.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know what I mean? I guess he wasn't expecting. Look, on some level, what Nightmare didn't make any sense. You're like just attacking with Zealots with Stalkers, and it like. If you see that, you would probably think, well, he's just not going to go for Storm then, because why would he attack me? Yeah. And then when he does the counterattack, there's Storm there, and he just gets
it wasn't time to counterattack. Like, you need to stabilize just momentarily. Like, and what that means is make sure the Prism is no longer screwing you, right? Because that is kind of the one big get-out-of-jail-free card for Protoss. So if you can block the Prism, like, if you can, like, send a Viking and just get rid of it, then I think that you just group your army and you can kind of put your full attention in and do a little bit of a counter, because that supply, he was literally at like 82 supply against like 45.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Prism comes back in, and then he eats like 3 big Psystorms with his main army, which just shreds it.
Well, those 3 Psystorms completely changed the way that game was going. So definitely like our rockiest game that we had of the day. I do think ByuN is still likely to win the series, but Nightmare can definitely take it. He's shown he can take a game off Rogue. He took a game off ByuN.
Yeah.
But he needs to clean up his play overall. He's been wildly inconsistent in these games.
He has
In some of the games, he's had some of the worst engages we've had, I think, for this year. And then there's moments where he's playing very smart. His engages still are kind of like, you know. But I think he just, again, he's really a rookie compared to the other players in the group, but he's got potential for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you definitely see these little sparks of brilliance in his play where he's got some really good ideas, some original ideas in there as well. But yeah, he definitely does need to clean up. I think ByuN as well is not making like really great decisions today. He's like, some of the ways he's splitting his army up, like that's twice now we've seen him do a double medevac drop and then try to attack the third. And it's like, That's kind of an old trick. Like, people know to split
Yeah.
their army. No one's sending their entire army to deal with 2 medevacs. No one does that.
It's a very basic way to play, and that's not bad. It's not like you have to do the most abstract stuff ever to win, but it's pretty much been the standard for him today.
Yeah.
Power on 2 base, double medevac, drop somewhere. You know, I mean, it's a basic way to play. It's an old way to play. The fact that he keeps doing it makes me also a little bit worried here because, you know, one thing about coming into a group stage and having all these different players you got to face off in different matches is that you're supposed to be able to show a variety of play in different matchups against different players. You can really flesh out that you don't just have one build. Literally, that's why you have a group like this, is that it's not one build or one style of play that lets you kind of eke out a victory and then eventually later on in the brackets they figure it out. But I'm starting to see it a little bit here with ByuN. Now he's got to do whatever it takes to win, so I'm not blaming him for it, but it's something to watch for. But let's see what he does. We're going to go to the final game now, ByuN versus Nightmare,
2022
to find out who plays
GSL
out.
Season 1. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN. Team MB, Nightmare.
Nice quick probe coming down. Pretty direct path this time as opposed to going around the map.
Yeah, you know, with Nightmare, the first thing I'm watching for, dude, is like, is he going to try something cheesy again? I don't think it's wrong if he does something cheesy again here, but then the next question I'm going to ask is it going to work? You know, because it's so far never worked.
Yeah.
And ByuN, you know, it's turning out to be a group where he really only has to know one matchup to get out, right? It's that happens with groups like this, right? Where it's like, okay, well, it could have been, you know, could have been TVZ as well. It wasn't. But he also hasn't really branched out at all. I'm not saying that he has to take a third or anything, but there is a repetitiveness, right? It's kind of a big difference between when you see ByuN playing nowadays and then you watch like a Maru, you know?
Yeah.
Or the way TY used to approach it, where they had like such a different handle on Terran in each matchup against each player on each map.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different time, right? The 4 horsemen of Terran are really no more. It's 2 of them are in the military. Maru's the best by far, and ByuN is a second-tier Terran in GSL at this point, right? Like, there's no question in my mind that Ryung is better than him right now. Bunny is better than him right now. So
yeah, I would agree. I mean, we could see ByuN come back. We could see ByuN one day win a GSL, but right now the play style doesn't seem to be as developed.
Some of the decision making that we're seeing from him, I'm concerned with these 2 medevacs going off to the side. You actually have an army that could maybe do something, maybe whittle down some of these charge lot based compositions he's up against, and he splits, and everything doesn't do quite what he was looking for, and it kind of plays into his opponent's hands. So yeah, just I'm hoping that he kind of fixes that. He is playing a little bit differently here. That's a really quick concussive shells. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And he might be trying to come in here and do a little bit of pressure with that.
He might just be looking to catch units. Okay, well that...
Try to catch at a depth and then slow him down. And
yeah, sometimes there have been some cool quick concussive shell openers to punish, you know, early like stalker pressure and stuff in the past. Doesn't look like he's going to get anything out of it here. Ooh, Dark Shrine.
Okay.
Nightmare seeming determined to make Dark Shrine work today.
Yeah, well, he's had enough rounds where it's gone poorly. Maybe this is going to be his moment, Artosis.
It might be. It might be.
They got to work sometime.
It's hard to imagine this one getting canceled, honestly. It's in his main base. Even if it gets scattered, I think you let it finish.
Yeah. So on ByuN's side, we're seeing development for what looks like a Widow Mine drop coming up here. And again, man, I mean, it's funny, that last game was really very telling for both the players. Because there was a lot of sloppy moments on either side.
Yeah. Hey, watching the series, it does make me think that Zoun is going to be going through.
Yeah, yeah. Zoun just seems like a cleaner player.
Yeah.
Like he's got more precision.
And that
his
really,
decision-making's better.
It really, really, really matters in StarCraft 2 to just have cleaner games. Okay, he scouts the Dark Shrine.
It's gonna.
He finished it.
He finished it. What?
Dark Cancel.
Now it's gonna be Dark Finish.
I know, that's not a good nickname. That's most people.
I actually think Dark Finish is probably better than Dark Cancel, to be honest as a name.
It might be. Probably as a strategy as well, honestly. All right, DT, gonna be dropped off over here. We'll see what it gets done. There's a Viking on the way already and 2 turrets, so it's really hard to imagine the DT really doing much of anything. Look at that. Very good catch. Gets out of there immediately. Now let's see if this mine drop can pick off some probes.
Oh God, he doesn't even see! Oh no! And you could see the moment that the medevac picked up, you saw Nightmare's head turn, he realized what happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's as good as the Widow Mine drop gets. I mean, a lot of times players are kind of doing the drop with the expectation of all the probes get away, but you interrupt mining.
Yeah.
Maybe you get 3 probes, maybe you get a good shot to connect with, 4. Something like that. But that was a disaster, and that also shows that Nightmare wasn't really as focused.
Yeah.
But I mean, the time the Widow Mine drops is always around the same time. Like, you can use the game clock to your advantage. So
absolutely,
I think some of this is just nerves kind of
might be
unraveling.
Yeah. One thing I have to mention here, if you take a look, it's a 3rd Nexus and Colossus Tech and Blink. And this is after a DT drop that didn't do anything. Generally, what you see after a DT opener, almost no matter what, is at least 1 Immortal pop out to give a little bit more stability to your army. So right now, Nightmare is going to have an incredibly soft army. Like, really, really soft. No real tankiness to it.
Yeah.
So I look at this situation, and I really want to see from ByuN just a full push. Not splitting. Go up and push.
I think you're right. I think you're totally right here. If ByuN splits it into 2, it's like, what are you doing? You can just kill him.
Yeah. If he responds right, then you don't do anything. And, I mean, obviously there's potential for ByuN to get stuff done with the split. But really, if he just brings all of his forces to bear, it's going to be a squishy army. It's like Nightmare's being pretty greedy here.
Well, we see the push coming out, and it looks like it's all going to stay for him together here. Oh, what was I talking about?
Tasteless.
Tasteless.
Why,
tasteless.
Why fight 3 Stalkers, a Sentry Assault, and a Colossus when you can split everything up?
This is truly weird, actually.
Like, look at that army, Taste. That is like, it's 5 units. He has 5 units. I dare say that the full army of ByuN would beat 5 units.
Well, this is the thing about ByuN's play in this game. It's like he's doing the same thing regardless of the circumstances of the games themselves. Like, as more Colossi get out, the Protoss army gets stronger, but I do feel like there was an ample moment to come in and really do some direct damage, like by actually taking a fight. I mean, this is a game where you killed 12 probes and got away scot-free. But yeah, he's going to go back with that kind of style regardless of whatever, decisions he'd made that impacted the game earlier on.
Yeah, my gosh. Well, he's harassing some. He did get a few probes up there, some pylons, the gas. ByuN is taking a 3rd. But I think that window that he had is now definitely closed. You're right, he's kind of copy-pasting what he wants to do, like every game, no matter what has occurred, because it's been different scenarios every time, and every time he loads up 2 medevacs, then tries to do something with the rest of the army.
It's not that loading up 2 medevacs with stuff is bad, it's that, everything that happens earlier on in the game ripples into the later part of the game, and so it just seemed like there was a good moment to attack in. He's going to set it up again. I do think there's a chance he could just take a fight coming up here. He's going to drop right on top of that Colossus. And it looks like it's not going to be killed off.
Yeah, I think Overcharge does some work right there.
But now he's going to push up. I think that Observer might have spotted that.
Yeah, I think
he
so.
sees it now for sure.
He's going to maneuver around a bit. He has some force fields in here, I believe, right? Yeah. And his army's getting bigger. He's got a couple Colossi. He's got a Prism for juggling. 3 Colossi even. Yeah.
Another drop over here at the natural.
His Guardian Shield here.
Oh, there's really not anything to fight back those Vikings.
I think he has to give up the space.
They're still continuing to do damage over to those Colossi. He's got into this position. Oh, we see a DT there. I think he scanned and killed that, though. Another drop over here at the third.
All right, ByuN trying to jump on top of everything now, but this is yeah, he went a little bit far in front of those siege tanks, pulls back now. Just going back and forth over and over and over, trying to get, tax that multitasking here of Nightmare. But, the 4th base going down is not the end of the world for Nightmare, right?
No.
He's retaining his Colossi, which is probably the most important thing right now. Oh, I don't know about this attack coming out.
Oh, this is kind of like that last game.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of an overextension. The Colossi remain just barely, but there's enough infantry. They start to chase us down. They take out 2 Colossi, and they could be taking out 2 more in a second here, both in the orange. Now just 1 remains. And again, it's like you take this moment that you have an advantage, and you gotta take a deep breath. You gotta go back. You gotta finish a macro cycle or 2.
Yes,
Make some probes, get some defense, get some upgrades, because the advantage is yours.
Yeah.
The moment that you could lose this is when you take all your bruised units and just YOLO it.
Yeah. It's very true. It's very true.
It's,
and like,
it's happening.
He attacked into the biggest arc that there was, and
he's not showing discipline.
Yeah. If you do wait for a round or 2 rounds, suddenly you have so much tankiness with 4 Colossus on top. That is scary.
You're building up the game to have these 4 Colossi.
And disruptors.
And disruptors that are just going to nuke chunks of the army. But you have to have the sponginess of the Zealots, and yes, even the Stalkers. You just need stuff on the ground. You need stuff that's going to, when they A-move onto the ground, the Stalker might take the shot instead of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Anything. But when you the moment that you kill off some infantry, you just start moving, you get a situation like what we had back there. And a moment where ByuN could be getting knocked out of the tournament, he's back in this.
Yeah, he really is. Definitely some mistakes on both sides here, decision-making wise. ByuN continuing on this siege tank heavy course. He is adding some Liberators, which I really like, actually. I think those Liberators are going to be very useful. Siege tank Liberator Viking. Really decent little composition for pushing. Looking a little bit tough for Nightmare. He's down about 30 supply right now. And ByuN really utilizing his terrain. He hasn't opened up any of the ramps. So very hard to attack move with his Zealot force. There's some great EMPs coming down here. Yeah, and it looks like ByuN is pretty close to breaking the back of Nightmare here.
Crazy pickups there. He's going to go right back on top of those disruptors.
Yeah, dropping out everywhere. Very fancy stuff here from ByuN. Going after this other disruptor over here. We'll be able to pick that off. Shield battery's starting to fall.
All right, he's got this.
Yeah.
Max supply to 100. All right, man. ByuN versus Zoun, the rematch. It's going to be coming up next, man.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so, I mean, at the end of the day, ByuN wins, so good stuff. But honestly, I think Zoun is quite a higher level than both these players. Like,
yeah, I mean,
there's been a few too many mistakes. I think a few, like, he's not taking into consideration what has happened in the game and just kind of doing your own thing. And
I mean, I think anybody on a bad ladder day has done that.
Of course.
Where you find yourself autopiloting and then you go back to the game and you're like, why was I doing that? GG. ByuN takes it. It was a kind of crazy game. Not our cleanest.
Yeah.
Maybe our down and dirtiest of the season so far. ByuN wins that. in a back and forth. I think a game of missteps where one player managed to kind of, in the few final moments, outmaneuver the other and get a win there. Nightmare, I think he had a great run in this GSL.
I think he played all right today overall. For he has the least experience out of everyone.
I think despite some embarrassing moments, I think he had a really impressive run.
Yeah.
And we want to see him again next season, no doubt.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind to have some more Nightmare in there. I think he is an interesting player.
The final match is coming up next, guys. ByuN versus Zoun. We will be right back.
coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
아침은 라떼, 홀리 점심은 라떼, 홀리 저녁엔 라떼, 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
라떼 홀리. I'll be coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I'll be coming up hot for a minute.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 날을 만든다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
아침은 라떼, 홀리 점심은 라떼, 홀리 저녁엔 라떼, 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
라떼 홀리.
Raider successfully takes the 2-1 this best of 3 and he is still finally getting his IEM victory. It took a couple of tries.
Missile could be very effective, and Broodlords can't really do much about Team Missile. Here we go!
대왕의 길을 열고 있어요. 지금 번도를 하는데요. 등장이죠.
It's it. Here takes it. The unsuspecting.
Today's matchup. Pro. Nightmare. ByuN. Zoun. Most competitive 1 versus 1 game. Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live. GSL Season 1 Code S.
Group C comes to a final best of 3. It's ByuN versus Zoun, and I think you guys already know Artosis and me are on the same page. I think Zoun has a very obvious shot at moving on. I think ByuN as each game passes, and again, he's not bad, but it's like I'm watching the same movie over and over again. You know,
it's actually, I have to be honest, I'm a bit disappointed.
It's one of those movies where one guy he's going to attack and then he puts half his army in medevacs, and the other guy's on 3 bases.
Yeah.
You know those movies.
He's not taking into account anything that's going on in the game.
Well, yeah, he's very much like running on a computer program or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like got a thing that he does, and that's what he does, and sometimes it wins and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that Zoun is definitely like stronger than Nightmare, cleaner than both of these guys.
I think Zoun clearly looks better, but we got to see how these games go.
You never know. ByuN might just pull it out.
Yeah, or he might mix it up. You know, he might realize the errors of his ways. We're going to see, guys.
2022
let's get this going.
GSL Season 1. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN. Alpha X, Zoun.
All right. Zoun, checking for possible proxies.
And by the way, before we get too far into this, I just want to say, I'm hoping we see more Nightmare.
Yeah.
In another season. I think it's, you know, he had some kind of pretty big fails tonight, but, you know, that's really unavoidable unless you've really had so much stage time. I mean, one of the great things about GSL is that because this is so old, we really have a long history of great stories and great matches. But, you know, we've had a lot of the same names, and those players have become extremely comfortable playing and competing in a studio like this. And, you know, when you get a player like Nightmare, this is a guy that's probably watched every GSL and been playing, you know, and he played with the pros, no doubt. It's not like they didn't know who he was before he, you know, managed to get this far. But, you know, he comes in here and it's like, it's that weird moment where it becomes real. Like, oh my God, I'm doing this, I've qualified. And that's usually when you see players get a little bit shaky, maybe make some questionable plays they would not have normally made on ladder or in practice games. But you've got to take those losses and you've got to come back. You got to treat it like an RPG. You've leveled up. You get the experience points after the battle, win or lose. Fill those into your stats and come back. So, you know, you had a good run. And now we're left with just ByuN and Zoun. Unsurprisingly, Rogue's already moved on.
Yeah.
And he looked like a Rogue win when he did it too. And again, Nightmare did take that one game off of Rogue. I think that was kind of one of the weirder looking games from Rogue, but he did it. So the kid's got a lot of potential. Now, with these two players, I just feel like Zoun looks more like the complete package in general. That matters more, I'd say, in a best of 5 than a best of 3, but I think it's still going to play a role here. And what you pointed out in the earlier game that ByuN was playing in against Nightmare Artosis, I think was really important, is that ByuN, every game, has stayed 2 base, pushed out, gotten 2 medevacs, fractured off part of his army, dropped the main. And why does that matter in the game against Nightmare? It matters because ByuN did a Widowmine drop that killed literally 12 probes immediately, which is the best thing a Widowmine drop can do. Like, that basically is a win. And then he did the same thing again later on.
It wasn't even just that. It was also a DT drop opener that didn't do anything into Colossus 3 base. So it was like no units and no economy.
The reason why splitting your army off into 2, and this goes back to the basics, you know, of the game, is that you don't need to split it off into 2 because they don't have anything. When you split your army into 2 parts, you're trying to avoid the fact that they have a defender's advantage and have better stuff, and all the tools that Protoss have to defend and the positions and everything. You just go kill them because you basically won. In fact, the only way you could make the game be more drawn out is to actually split the army up and attack a bunch of different spots. And I think that's what we had back there. And that's, I think, where we're drawing a lot of the current criticism from ByuN here now is like, man, I feel like Zoun is going to be way more punishing of a player than the Nightmare.
Now, to mention about this game, because I definitely agree with everything you just said there, this was a hidden 3 racks opener from ByuN. So he actually has a rather sizable army. His combat shields and stim are still being made. You see immediately Zoun is coming up here and trading what he can. But he did go for Blink and a very fast 3rd base. So army-wise, ByuN has way, like a really big advantage army-wise, right? But there is Blink. So let's see like how much he can slow him down and everything. ByuN looks like he's turning around now. He may end up waiting for medevacs and going with a really large force.
Yeah, and although the build is a bit different, it's got a lot of the same themes, doesn't it? Powering on 2 base. Looking for a fight down the road here.
This is a very popular ByuN build. Like, he has used 3 racks openers so many times.
I can think of a couple games in the past we casted where he did stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah.
On some maps better than others.
And I think it's not a bad choice for this map, for this situation. But you can see that Blink is whittling him down a little bit. I think we're going to see Colossus here. I don't think Disruptor is a good call at all. I think this is a Colossus moment for Zoun.
I think so. I think you need to get...
You need steady damage against this.
You need a stopper right now.
Yes. If you miss one Disruptor shot, you might actually lose the game. So there you go. He is going Colossus. He is still microing really heavily against this. I'm a little bit surprised that ByuN remained out here against the Blink. Like, Zoun's Blink Stalker micro, he's very good at it. And it seems like ByuN is just kind of like had his army whittled down a fair amount. His army is still pretty big, but I mean, he lost a lot of units there. I'd actually love to see the units lost tab just to drive that home. First 2 medevacs are going to be coming out, and that's going to be his power spike. And look at his supply, man. Like, it's pretty darn big. Observer sees this, comes out, pick off some more units. Every unit he picks off here is so incredibly important because his army is quite a bit smaller. He's on a bigger economy as well. There we go, the 2 medevacs.
Yep, and that's a good moment to attack in there for Zoun. Try to get some hits. And so far, truly, ByuN hasn't done any impactful damage at all.
No,
he hasn't managed to fly into a main and take any fights. The third base is going to come down. 2 medevacs inbound towards the main. I don't know what's actually back in the main right now either. There are 4 zealots headed over here to the soon-to-be third base.
Okay.
That's being made on site, so to kill the SCV and maybe start to damage the CC, if that is intended to pretty quickly, that's going to become a big issue here.
Yeah. Look at this. Charge lots coming in, slowing down this third CC. The medevacs are waiting up at the top, and there are a group of stalkers. There is a group of stalkers in the main base here of Zoun. He's going double forge. If he, like, destroys those 2 medevacs, he is going to be so far ahead. Because double forge plus Colossus against the slower tech here of ByuN, that's going to be very, very rough. But okay, now ByuN is being very patient with this double drop that he split off. This is, I know it's double drop again, but it is very different from the way he was doing before. He's not just sending it in. He's bringing an actual force with him to this third.
Much later in the game he's doing this.
Even though those have been sitting there for as long as we've seen on the other games, like, but he went in right away.
He didn't overcommit.
It's very different because of that. Now here we go. He's dropping in. The stalkers are here. Warps in a few zealots. It seems like Zoun will be fine there. Now we have the main engagement starting to occur.
Oh, ByuN runs by. Big arc here. And it seems like ByuN's got himself into a pretty good spot. He could start to just tear up the natural here. He's kind of cut the 2 defending armies in half. Now Zoun comes in and takes out the tanks. And you got to keep in mind, there isn't an easy escape route here. But I don't think he needs one. He's just going to dive right under these tanks. The batteries can't heal in time.
Beautiful moves here from ByuN. GG.
GG. ByuN takes game 1, and that looked like a much better ByuN.
Yes, the other games he just kind of flew in as soon as he loaded the medevacs. Here he cleared observers, he sent the medevacs up, he reinforced the main army several times, including additional medevacs. He moved in, did them both at the same time, and he actually got the damage done here. He got Zoun a little bit out of position. Zoun's army was at the third, he ran up the ramp and had a couple tanks that zoned everything out. And the zealots kind of charged over more towards the tanks or something there. I didn't get to see exactly as we didn't see the whole battle, but much better executed game there from ByuN. Even though parts of it are the same ideas, that is much more what it should be looking like.
Yeah. Well, I think it was waiting for the right setup, not having a bunch of random tanks in the drop at the top. You know, it was a much cleaner, better play here from ByuN. And Zoun, you know, I didn't expect him to lose in as much of a straightforward fashion, but he did.
Yeah, the pressure might be on now. If ByuN is able to take this, man, that's That's pretty big news, because I think Zoun, again, I rate him about 3rd best Protoss in Korea. We don't have any Protoss in the next round yet. It's kind of an important moment for the race.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Protosses might be going extinct.
ByuN
The last
turning
ones
it
left
on.
are casters. Even them, who knows, man. Oh, we're ready, guys. Game 2 on Hardwire. Let's do this.
2022 GSL Season 1. Shopify Rebellion. ByuN. Alpha X. Zoun.
All right. That is quite a hidden Rax over at the 3rd.
So, I mean, ByuN looked a lot better, man. I'll give it to him. Had a much better engage.
I didn't like how far out he went against the Blank Stalkers. I think Zoun was very on top of that. Really
you mean early on?
Yeah, very early before medevacs. I think it's fine at first, and sometimes you actually get a few extra shots and suddenly the Stalkers can't keep up, but that didn't really happen. He did get whittled down. So there were still some things there that I wasn't a super fan, but yeah, the waiting with the medevacs, reinforcing the army, making a very strong push, finding Zoun out of position. I think as long as Zoun stays calm, is that going to happen to him again?
Well,
so sure.
You know, he got out positioned, and when that happens, the damage comes in extremely quickly, right? Like, I think it was a pretty good setup overall, like to get the drop in the main, but then to hit the natural with the siege tanks kind of in the middle. I think a lot of other players are ready for an attack at the bottom of the 3rd. And to kind of get in there and get right on top of the robo, which is at the natural. I mean, it was a pretty big shutdown, and
it's a big deal. So the probe hasn't been able to find the barracks as of yet. The one Reaper comes out, the barracks flies back towards the main. An Adept being chronoed out right now to block that incoming Reaper. And a CC in the main. I do like the CC in the main there. Make it a little bit harder to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, hide your plans. I want to see what strat Zoun's going to go for, what kind of tech he wants to have in this game. You know, I think for him it's unexpected to lose a game like that.
Yeah.
And playing better against better players, maybe?
Could be. I think also, you know, maybe he is getting some of the, you know, I think ByuN isn't as composed as a lot of other high-end players like champions and stuff. Like you look at most of our champions and you're like, well, this guy is like cool as a cucumber, you know, like no issue. Like you said, Rogue, him playing in GSL is like boarding a bus. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But then you get ByuN, and I think he does. There's more. He's such an emotional player in general. Like I think it does affect him a bit more.
I think he's probably the most emotional player in GSL.
Yeah.
Than maybe Creator.
Him and Creator probably. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing with ByuN is he can be very hot or very cold as far as play goes, but he's very emotional. We talked about another cast, but like, you know, I think for him, some of the best ways to improve are to kind of try to figure out how to get in the best mindset coming into this. Like, I remember asking TY when he first started casting, I'm like, was that weird for you? Were you nervous? And he's like, not at all. Not at all, because it just felt like it was the same thing as playing on stage. He's like, I'm just very used to being, you know, kind of watched and you know, and I'm like, okay, that's probably the best mindset. Oh my God. Wow. Another drop over here at the natural. He pulls away.
Okay. Blank not done quite yet. That's a little bit scary, man.
Well, that was like
that's like
fraction of a second difference, and you know, all the workers are gone.
Yeah. game-ending mistake otherwise. Really well done from ByuN there. Blink almost done. The Raven coming out for a little bit of harassment as well. Okay, cool. I like that actually quite a bit, right? Like if they go Robo, you can save it. And in a situation like this, well, I mean, against Blink, it's a little bit scary too, right? Because if they have their stalkers nearby, sometimes you're going to lose the Raven if you go too deep. But But yeah, it's some flexibility there in the opener.
It's good to see that third coming. And I think we might just see some auto turrets thrown down over here soon.
For sure. Yeah, might be waiting just for 2.
Yeah, it makes sense. Meanwhile,
possibly wants to line it up with this as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think try to draw the screens away.
Yeah, look at that.
And he doesn't see.
Man.
Oh, he does.
Throw an auto turret down at the same time. Beautifully done. Can pick up 3 probes, I think, from that.
And this is a lot of lost mining time.
Dude, this is really annoying. ByuN is playing a much nicer series here for sure.
And again, he's just buying time. Oh, go, 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 go.
Oh, brutal.
That was sick. That was very cool. ByuN's winning us back.
6 kills on this Raven.
That's insane.
Yeah, ByuN is playing much better this series. Like, yeah, did not like the beginning of the day for him, but you know what? This is the series that matters the most, and he is putting it out right now.
Okay, Medivacs are going to be moving out here for a drop, and we don't know how much he's going to commit to this, but this is the ByuN we know from before. He's powering right now. He's got the 3rd CC started, so he'll be taking a base in a little bit, but it's a later CC.
Storm coming up.
And he's still got all these tools here. He's still got this Medivac with the Widow Mine, and you know, even though that Widow Mine didn't do that much, it drew some attention away, and that turret did a lot. And all you need to do is have another great drop where the Widow Mine comes in again in one of these moments, and you burrow it, and you can win. I don't see anything to defend over here. And this is a lot of this comes down to that Raven still being a threat, that Widow Mine still being a threat. And now a 3rd threat is generated right over here. Dude, I think ByuN's going to 2-0 this.
Yeah, it really looks that way right now. ByuN bringing up the rest of his army now. Storm is going to finish.
Where'd the Widow Mine go?
He's going to need some magnificent storms here, though. Okay, that's okay, Storm. And then the rest of the army comes up, unfortunately, here. ByuN going for the kill now.
And the tanks are going to come up. He can get on top of the Robo. There's not enough stalkers here.
Well, one more storm. That's a lot of red bio, but I don't think it's going to be in time. GG.
ByuN does it.
Oh, my God.
And I'll tell you what. All you got to do is fix the little errors in your play, iron out those wrinkles, and he played 200% better than that last match against Nightmare. Well deserved. No Protosses yet. No Protosses yet. I know you guys are cheering. I know we think Protoss is too strong, but don't worry, they're not going to be ruining the round of 10 just yet.
Look, Tasteless, it's, you know that Thanos meme with the knife? It's perfect balance. 3 Terran, 3 Zerg. Let's go.
Perfect.
Zoun has to be a bit disappointed. I think overall tonight he played a little bit better than ByuN, but that last series, that's where it counts, and ByuN turned it on, showed that he still has it. It's just not as steady as it once was.
We're going to have that interview now with ByuN. Let's see how he's feeling, and he's back with us to translate. Let's get to that now.
Another Protoss goes down, and it is ByuN joining the round of 10 as the 2nd place of this group. Congratulations. Thank you. First of all, we want to hear about how you feel after that victory today. So I guess this advancement means special to you. So how do you feel?
You
know, whatever the qualifier is, whatever the round of 10 is, I'm just so rejoiced that I won my match today. And I really don't care whether it be offline matches or online matches. You know, I just feel really happy when I win my match. That's all. So ByuN, you seem super happy when you beat Zoun in the final match. And you also took your revenge against him in the round of 24 on IM Katowice. Well, if we talk about IM Katowice, I feel like I'm always down in the head-to-head record against Zoun. I feel less confident, and it's always him getting the upper hand in the games. So I was quite worried before the games today. After you know, playing against him, you know, I think Zoun was definitely the better performer at the end. But when I saw the VOD after the match, you know, I felt like it was a winnable game for me. But I did make some trivial mistakes which I need to fix on. And so I realized that after the IM Katowice, I would be able to defeat him in the later match. Well, ByuN, definitely you exploited his weaknesses today. And today it felt like you had some battle of wits with the barrack placement. I mean, that barrack placement is something that I use often in my games. And you know, against in the second match, the second game against Nightmare, I was able to catch up his probe, and I realized that I would just win the game straight off, but I lost the game somehow. But I felt like because I used the barrack placement quite variously in my games, I was able to have the upper hand going against Zoun. Alright, so let's... For this IM Katowice, what experience did it give you? You know, apart from the meals, everything else was fine. You know, when I go overseas, the meals, the food is what I am most cautious of. But you know, ever since the establishment of my team, this was the first time we gathered up together in IM Katowice. So you know, we got to meet each other, and it was a pleasant experience. And I think it's been really long since I last played offline games with foreign players. So you know, it was a joyful experience meeting up with the players. And this might be too much information. So you know, the plane tickets got cancelled quite frequently, so we had to wait a long time. And my team actually got me a business ticket on my way back to Korea. So you know, I'm really happy for the support I get from my team. So you know, it really means a lot to me. Well, some various stories coming from you, ByuN. So you know, balance, the topic of balance has been really hot these days. The Void Ray has been nerfed, the shield battery, and for Terran, the Widow Mine has been nerfed as well. So a lot of major nerfs coming in this season. So what are your 2 cents on this topic? I feel like the one really big factor for Protoss is now deleted, it's out of the way, Void Ray. You know, like before, when I go scouting against the Protoss, I just lose. But now, I think it's doable against Protoss players. So you know, Void Rays definitely are the biggest factor when it comes to the PvT. But the nerf, I don't think I really feel it in my games yet. It's not too big for me. But I still do feel like PvT, my perspective, the Protoss is favored. But I'm not going to talk about it further because I won the match today. Don't want to diss other players. Alright, so from the round of 10, it will be a full league system. So, anything you want to say, ByuN? You know, ever since I came back from the military, my weakness, my flaw has been the TVT, and I think I really adapted to the TVT matchup now, and my performance has improved. And you know, there are 2 Terran players already in round of 10, so I think that's good for me. However, meanwhile, I think the TVZ is really screwed up for me. It's really bad, looking bad. But there's still 2 weeks of time left for preparation. So I'm really gonna dive into that TVZ matchup from today. So today I only got to show you guys the TVP matchups. But I'm not sure if Protoss players will make it to the round of 10. But I'm gonna try to practice as much as possible till my next match. Well, ByuN saying whether you question Protoss players will be in the round of 10 or not. Alright, so that's it for the interview.
All right, well, you heard it here first, guys, from 2 former world champions in Rogue and ByuN. Protoss is favored against Zerg, and Protoss is favored against Terran. It has to be something wrong with the humans playing Protoss that they haven't won a GSL since 2017. It's been 5 years.
You're probably wondering what do Protoss players think about that? Well, we won't know because they won't get the interviews when they don't win. So it might remain a mystery, but right now, guys, we're going to Warcraft 2 race numbers, just humans and orcs.
Yeah.
Until we get a Protoss to go through. But you know what? Trap over there looking like a dark priest. I would say, first of all, yes, you can know all my sins. And then second of all, I think he's going to maybe make it out.
The solar picture looks like he was photoshopped onto that. I am not kidding. Yeah, so this group, I mean, Trap has to be able to make it out of there. We hope.
We hope.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting day. We definitely had some sloppy games. We had some great games, too. Rogue definitely looking stronger than everybody. Zoun, unfortunately, being eliminated there. It's always great to have ByuN doing well. I hope that he can keep, like, that last series, that quality of game, because I want to watch him play that well. But the other series, like the series against Nightmare, that's honestly not even... I don't expect to see that in CodeS. I want better than that, you know?
I've been trying to think of a funny joke to make with these gloves. We found these gloves on the ground before the show started.
You guys have no idea how funny this is because it's like there's just these gloves were just laying on the floor. Yeah. And so they just found them and he just...
I've just been wearing them.
He wore them to cast.
And I've been touching Dan during the cast with the gloves like this. It's
like... Yeah. He found gloves on the ground, and so he's like, well, I should wear these. Well, I guess it doesn't even make sense. Why would someone do that?
But look at how cool I look with these. I look like I could be inspecting a crime scene. I'm like, and this was the victim's phone, you know?
It's so funny to me that, like, they're on the ground, and, like, in your brain somehow you're like, I need to wear those while I do my job
What
today.
I should have done is just keep these on and never talk about them, and then eventually see if other casters elsewhere are also wearing gloves.
Everyone starts wearing gloves.
Yeah.
That's a secret
Years
of
later, they're like,
power.
what's going on here?
Oh, my God.
I can't wear these things anymore. My hands are sweating like crazy.
Oh, my God.
Guys, it was a good day of games today, but I want to see how many Protosses actually get to the round of 10 because... and look, this may not end up being a factor as we get closer and closer to the end. Like one Protoss does make it to the Final Four, maybe even 2, but can get scary sometimes, man. New patch, you know, some things about Protoss were nerfed. And I don't know, some would argue that Protoss weren't winning very many GSLs.
Yeah,
the last couple of years.
2017 Season 1.
Let's see what happens. Guys, we're going to be back on Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.